Good morning. Welcome to Wednesday. Is it Wednesday or Thursday? Thursday.
It's Thursday.
Wow,
yeah.
wow. The week is flying really fast.
It's a very fast week.
We're coming to the end of the week. Thursday has a certain spirit to it. It's almost the weekend type of day. It lets you know that Friday is around the corner. But thank you for staying tuned and just locking it all with us here on Breakfast Central all through this week. We're bringing you stories around the country for the next 3 hours, and we also will be exchanging your thoughts when we take your comments on our YouTube live stream, as well as when we take your phone calls during the newspaper review. I am Olive Emodi, and you're welcome to the show.
And I'm PENGASSAN. Welcome to Breakfast Central. We have a lot in store for you. I mean, that sounds cliche, but
we do have a lot.
It is what it is. Like the Gen Zs will say, we do have a lot in store for you. So sit back, relax. There's so much to talk about, so much controversies as always, and lots of policy analysis to also do in the news. So you're welcome to Breakfast Central. I am Benga Aboroa. As it's our usual tradition on Breakfast Central, we start up with what we've coined the wake-up conversations. You know, the gist that you must have missed after the 9 o'clock news last night and you went to bed. So we wake you up with this, with what you miss, so you don't miss everything. So we keep you informed all the way throughout the day here on News Central. So we'll start off with something quite unique and ambitious, I must say. And
Very.
As always, it's generated mixed reviews and a lot of controversy. My dear Olive here wanted to be a sprinter when she was growing up, but that ambition didn't last long. Yeah, she might have the physique of a sports star.
Well, I may not be able to run physically, but I can run into conclusions now.
Wow, I like that.
Well,
best in running into conclusions.
Thank you
so please
so
conclude this gist for us.
Okay, so since let's run into the conclusion of the gist. The gist is that Nigeria is bidding to host the Commonwealth 2030 Games. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has said that this dream should come true, proposing that this be held in Abuja, and we're competing against India. Look at his tweet. He says, to the Commonwealth family, it is time for Africa. After 100 years of the Commonwealth Games, they have never been hosted on African soil. By bringing the Commonwealth Centenary Games to Nigeria in 2030, you will send a powerful message that every region of the Commonwealth matters, and that Africa is not only a part of the story, but central to its future. Nigeria is the gateway, Africa is the stage, the Commonwealth is the family. Let us make history together in 2030. Let us complete the circle of Commonwealth unity. This dream must be realized. The time is now. First of all, I must applaud the tweet, whoever put out the tweet. I think it was very beautifully worded. I think it's very powerful. It feels like saying, ode to Nigeria at the Commonwealth Games. That's what it feels like. It had so much, the coinage, the way in which the words were constructed, I think was beautifully, written to show Africa is the gate. Africa is the. Please let's put that again. Let's put that tweet up again. It says something about Africa.
Quote the president.
Exactly. Africa is the stage. Nigeria is the gateway. I really loved that line. So at the end of the day, it's like we're looking at the broader picture, being Africa here, being able to host the Commonwealth, but Nigeria is just an opening into this stage.
Yes, I believe there was a beat video that accompanied this. It's a 3-minute long video. I'm not sure if we have it. And even if we have it, we can't take the entire 3 minutes. And, the FCT minister spoke on why the Commonwealth Games should come to Nigeria. Mr. President spoke. The Lagos State governor, I did speak, because there are certain sports like rowing and and beach volleyball that would be played in Lagos if we get the hosting right. And it's not just any type of Commonwealth Games. It's the centenary edition, the 100th Commonwealth Games. If you recall, the first Commonwealth Games were held in a place called Hamilton in Canada. So we will be going up against, there are other countries, because for Nigerians saying it's not a done deal yet, we're bidding. Bidding is like entering into a competition where the Commonwealth organizers will then look at facilities, look at security, look at preparedness, and just look at your bidding document to see who has the best, and then they put it to a vote before deciding what city gets the hosting rights for the 2030 Commonwealth Games.
Speaking of city,
it's a tall order.
It really is a tall order. We've put in for Abuja to be the host city, while Ahmedabad in India has put forward Ahmedabad.
Am I that bad?
Am I that bad?
Yeah.
Yes, to be the host for India. They're also lobbying for it. The dignitaries and delegates were also here in Nigeria to have a look, and I did see
look at the facilities.
Exactly. I see that, you know, they were received, the Commonwealth Sports Bid Evaluation Committee, they were received last Thursday in Abuja, and they were received by the president, represented by the chief of staff. You can see him here at the Aso Rock Villa in Abuja. The Nigerian delegation, led by the chairman of the National Sports Commission, Shehu Diko, and Director General Bukola Olopade, emphasized that the bid was an opportunity to foster a shared legacy, you know, for us as a continent, and it epitomizes the Commonwealth spirit. Again,
2030 is 5 years from now.
Yes.
So if we don't even have the facilities, you could still put a lot together.
The last time that we held a multi-sporting event was the African Games in 2003.
Under President Obasanjo.
Yes. So we're pushing for this bid. And if you look at a comparison between us and the companies that have hosted the Commonwealth in the past years.
The countries.
Yes. So England hosted the last one in 2022, Birmingham. 2018, Gold Coast, Australia. 2014, Glasgow, Scotland. Then India hosted last in 2010. They're also bidding to host in 2030. Australia, Melbourne, 2006, and England again hosted Manchester in 2002. And then Malaysia, 1998, Kuala Lumpur was noted as the first games in Asia. So Nigeria is looking to host 2030. Now, before we share our thoughts, let's look at what the Sports Commission has to say about this as well.
So at the end of the day, it's about wealth creation, right? So what kind of wealth are we talking about? That's what we call the sport wealth, right? We create sport wealth by hosting, which means we get opportunity to our sportsmen to compete against the world and train against the world, and they see what is happening, they can develop to do that. There is what we call the diplomatic wealth, because sports is also a diplomatic tool. We can use that tool to bring the Commonwealth together and then bring Nigeria to the global family, clean up the image of Nigeria, and then create more synergy between Nigeria and the Commonwealth and other countries. Many people will come in here and they will go back with a different mindset. This country is different to do that. That's what we call the economic world itself, because throughout the games, the events, the value-added services, the media, the what have you, that you need to have around the game, the building of the game, of scaling of the infrastructure that you need to do, you are creating jobs. The common man will benefit. And then some people, it's from that process they will get a lot of resources that they will now be able to set up and have the capital to start a business. And by the time you have thousands and thousands of people coming in globally into the country, bringing in dollars and stuff like that, that they spend here, it's all economic activities around it that will create value added. Even the small, for example, the National Sport Festival we did in this year in Abeokuta, we brought in 20,000 people there, about, or 15,000 above, with the athletes and the fans and everything. That would have went to Abeokuta. Imagine the economic activities. After the games, many people were crying. They don't want the game to finish because the economic activity have already benefited. Even the seller of granola benefited. So that's the benefit that will come. There is what we call the cultural wealth as well, because several cultures will come together and advance, and they will appreciate our culture, will appreciate their culture, and then we'll be able to sell what we can, who we are, what we are, and bring more inclusion, more diversity to people, and more benefit, which make people more productivity at the end of the day. That will also happen. Yes, of course, the social wealth is there as well, because sport is about the social activities as well. It brings everybody together, makes everybody happy, more productivity, and what have you. And then it gives the country what we call the soft power. Globally, everybody will start respecting Nigeria. Even the competition we are hosted internationally within this year, as a test run to what we are trying to do, you can see the benefits that have come to Nigeria.
All right. So when we think about the possibility of Nigeria hosting the Commonwealth Games in 2030, you can think of several advantages as well as disadvantages. I'd like to start with the good news first. The advantages will be that we have a young teeming population that's interested in sports, and this will be a great avenue to drive conversation about sports, drive participation, and inspire a new set of sporting athletes to, you know, to want to be a part of the game. So I think that that's a great advantage. I also think that it also helps with our branding as a country, placing us in a certain light in the international scene. I think it's also an avenue to increase tourism, boost revenue generation, because people are going to be bringing FX into the country. So we're going to see the potential of a lot of FDIs, you know, foreign direct investments could be best from there. There are people who would come there and forge partnerships as a result of their visit to Nigeria. So yes, there are a lot of advantages in terms of tourism. I did mention that hospitality sector would benefit greatly from this, our hotels, the airports, and then there's the infrastructural angle to this, because for the country to be able to host the Commonwealth Games, there are certain infrastructures that will be worked on, or certain infrastructure that will be worked on in terms of roads, airports, the stadiums, and this is a benefit to us, because not like after the Commonwealth Games, they will take this infrastructure with them. However, the downside to it would be that a number of these, when we start to make provision for the crowd that the Commonwealth will bring, what happens when they leave? What plan is there for the infrastructure to be used, or would it just become some white elephant?
Fantastic question. You look at the now recently christened Moshood Abiola National Stadium in Abuja. It was built under the administration of former President Olusegun Obasanjo to host the All-African Games in 2003, like you mentioned. You need to look at the state of that facility now. It's a shadow. Dilapidated. And that's just on a smaller scale, all African Games. Now you want to host the entire Commonwealth. What will happen to these facilities after? Senate President, when he was governor of Akwa Ibom State, built a world-class hospital in Akwa Ibom.
What has happened to that hospital?
Go and look at that hospital. Is our maintenance culture going to change overnight, or should we set our priorities to, you know, tangible things and more immediate needs that we could take care of, healthcare and education? Because you need to see the state of the. I saw a video of a primary school in the southwestern part of Nigeria yesterday. Children were, you know, bailing out water from their classrooms. So something is that a priority? Exactly, it should be a priority. Stop looking at
beyond the infrastructure that may not be used after these Commonwealth Games. There are several other disadvantages that come to mind as well. There's also the fact that there's a potential for people who are going to carry out contracts in that period. Corruption might be, you know, fostered.
We can't even afford it.
And that's why we're listening ahead. Yes. So that's why I'm listening to all the disadvantages. There's also the financial burden. And even if we have a budget and the budget looks feasible, chances that budget will be overrun it's very high. So we're complaining about the fact that we don't have money. So that's the corruption part, the inflation of the budget. And then, you know, there's also the issue of insecurity. We cannot deny the fact that we are still battling insecurity. How can we guarantee the security of every single person that comes in for the Commonwealth Games? Because it's not a good look for our country if these people come to attend the Commonwealth Games here and we're hearing that kidnappers are demanding ransom for one or two persons. So these are the merits and the demerits, and we must then put both the merits and the demerits on a scale and see which one outweighs.
But let's hear what Nigerians are saying. It's not
our. So we've just given you what the merits are, what the demerits are, but let's see what Nigerians are leaning more towards.
Yomi Kuku says, Your Excellency, sir, I totally agree with your vision for an African nation to host Commonwealth Games for the first time. However, I pray that you use your good office to ask for the impact report of the outcome of Culture 03 before committing the hard-earned resources of Nigeria into this venture, sir.
So in case you're wondering what Culture 03 is, the All Africa Games, which was hosted in Nigeria, in Abuja in 2003.
Yeah.
All right, a bold appeal, but the real test is whether Nigeria can guarantee security, exactly, infrastructure and organizational competence to pull off a global event of this scale. Hosting the games here will be historic, but without deep reforms and clear delivery plans, it risks becoming another expensive missed opportunity. Very, very fantastic.
I think we should wait to 2029 and see how we fared as a country and see if we can take up this burden. Shegun says, you don't invite people to your house when it stinks and is full of all sorts of diseases and issues. Put your house in order first. Fix the issues: insecurity, healthcare, education, unemployment, infrastructure, electricity, etc. before you think of inviting Commonwealth nations.
I like how you first said Shegun and then realized what was going on here. I said Shegun.
Shegun, exactly. What's Shegun?
Preacher Dane says, we'll read more about the benefits of hosting Commonwealth, but one thing is sure, it's expensive, and most countries that did recorded a financial loss. I know it's an opportunity to display the country to the world, but are we currently in a level that can be portrayed positively?
Food for thought. If you've not had breakfast, that's why you're on Breakfast Central. So we serve you food for
Dry
thought.
jokes, Lomo. Other countries make gains by hosting international events, but in Nigeria, we count our losses always. Take Nigeria 99, for example. Ooh, I remember. Do you remember it?
Yes,
welcome to Nigeria 99. Welcome.
You are an elderly person, and I'm using Gen Z to look at you. You are quite mature in age.
No, I just have a retentive memory. You know, I can sing that song from beginning to end.
Even the Yoruba.
That was T.Y. Bello, I think, was it them?
Even, I think
Okay.
Good times.
Good times. Let's go back to the tweets.
We gained something.
You see? At least we remember the song.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the Africa 99 tweets. Sorry, we hadn't. Nigeria 99 tweets. That was the one before this tweet.
DJ, please rewind.
All right, our DJ no. Okay, yes. Yeah. Take Nigeria 99, for example. No gain was recorded. How can you say no gain was recorded? Remember the song? Let's use the money to fight insecurity and hunger instead. Uzomachi says. All right. The next tweet says, my president is working. Peter, we not go see this one now. I appreciate my president. Now error you go defined always.
You know, quite a number of people misconstrue the fact that you're bidding as that
you've gotten it already. Exactly.
It's a bid. And we also need to factor in that we're competing against other cities.
India has put in their bid as well.
I mean, some of these cities are first world nations. So maybe like the way South Africa got the World Cup. And it's not just because they got it based on merit. It was a fantastic showpiece. It put Africa on the world map, the 2010 World Cup. And they prepared for it. They had the facilities. We didn't have any untoward incidents during the 2010 World Cup. So shout out to South Africa. So maybe, and that's what we're doing, because if you go facilities to facility, infrastructure for infrastructure, the chances of getting it will be very slim. So we're using that sentiment of, you know, the Commonwealth centenary, 100 years of the Commonwealth Games has never been to Africa. So maybe they might consider us this time around, but we have to put our house in order.
And now, if we imagine that we get that, and then after getting it, a lot of people will now go and invest in building hotels and all that. Much later, when all this is gone, who is going to be in that hotel?
So that's why it should be organic. Yeah, let's put our country in a viable position first before bidding for this sort of things.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's, final tweet says, we don't need to host any Commonwealth Games, allow or create an enabling atmosphere for Nigerians to create wealth and enjoy the commonwealth of the country. Ooh, I see what you did there. Nigeria can't be subsidizing the lives of politicians while the masses starve. Let the poor breathe, sir, with all due respect. Anyway, let's move down to our next conversation. And this time, we're exploring a major issue that has destabilized lots of individuals and businesses within the Lagos metropolis in the past, say, 48 hours. The Lagos flood crisis has deepened as heavy downpour enters day 2. Yesterday, Tuesday, was the second day of the heavy downpour. And as you can see, this is definitely an estate in Lekki. And it looks like a very familiar estate.
Just imagine the quality of that water.
All right.
Wastewater, sewage water, all mixing together. It's so irish.
Very, very uncomfortable situation. There are people who had to leave their houses because they knew that if they had stayed any longer and the flood had persisted, the rain had persisted, that they would not be able to leave their houses. They'll be trapped in their houses. I saw a video of somebody who had to be carried on her back to leave her house. But the flood situation hasn't been the most comfortable for a number of people. And
the Lagos state government is aware of this, and they're not just, I mean, they of course they observe, they see all those videos, and the Commissioner for Environment, Honorable Tokunbo Wahab, did put up a very empathetic tweet appealing to Lagosians, and, you know, just given the position and the side of the government. Let's take that before we continue with our analysis.
All right, so the tweet of Tokunbo Wahab talking about the flood and appealing to Lagosians, if we can please put that up.
Yes, Honorable Tokunbo Wahab, the Commissioner for Environment, says, "Dear Lagosians, we sincerely sympathize with all residents who were affected by the flash floods witnessed in parts of the state yesterday. We understand the discomfort and disruption it caused, and we deeply empathize with those who were affected. As a coastal city, Lagos is naturally vulnerable to flooding, especially during periods of heavy rainfall combined with tidal lock. Despite this, the state government has continued to invest in drainage infrastructure, regular desilting, and enforcement of environmental laws to minimize flooding incidents and protect lives and property. We must also provide clarity on some of the affected areas. At Kunsela, the challenge is technical. The downstream is about 1.2 meters higher than the invert of the existing drainage, as confirmed by the survey conducted for the ongoing project awarded by the state government at the end of Kunsela Road, which includes a pumping station around the House on the Rock Church. The flooding was linked to infractions we highlighted earlier: illegal construction and floodplains.
Who approved this illegal construction?
Refuse and drains. Brilliant question. These kinds of activities worsen flooding and must stop. We appeal for understanding and continued cooperation from the public, keeping our environment clean, refraining from dumping refuse into drains, and avoiding construction and floodplains are vital to achieving a flood-free Lagos. In several of the videos shared yesterday, clear infractions were observed, and Lagos State government will ensure that such illegal structures and obstructions are properly removed, including those illegal reclamations carried out without the requisite environmental impact assessment report and the drainage clearance. We also wish to assure residents that the flooding was a flash flood in some parts of the state and has since receded this morning. The ministry remains committed to strengthening our flood management systems, but this effort requires the support and responsible actions of all Lagosians. Together, we can build a safer, cleaner, and more resilient Lagos. Signed, Honorable Tokunbo Wahab, Commissioner of Environment, Lagos State Government. So there you have it, the government's side of the story's explanation of what happened in the last 2 days.
But the man actually responded to the Honorable Commissioner. Let's see what this man had said in response to Honorable Tokunbo Wahab. Now, in his tweet, he says, "Dear Honorable Commissioner, sir, thank you for always communicating openly with Lagosians and for the visible efforts to improve our commitment." I think I lost that.
Communicating openly. To
improve our environment and flood management systems. It shows commitment and accountability, which we truly appreciate. While we acknowledge the technical and human challenges you highlighted, may I humbly suggest a mix of immediate and long-term measures that can complement the good work already being done. 1. So he said the immediate short-term suggestions: 1, deploy mobile pumping units to quickly drain critical flash flood hotspots while permanent stations are being completed. And we spoke about this yesterday. That a number of, for example, houses on the island have invested in the pumping, but that what effort is it?
So where do you pump?
Exactly. All the people within the estate are pumping. They are pumping to the express.
They must be very pompous.
2, intensify community-based sensitization, not just through media, but also via CDAs, religious houses, and schools to stop dumping refuse in drains. I think they've been doing this, but they can amplify it further. Activate a rapid response task force that clears blocked drainage points immediately after heavy rainfall. Absolutely. We also did talk about this, that what is our emergency response to flooding? 4, ensure dirt and debris removed from drainage channels are evacuated promptly to avoid them being washed back into the drains. And this is a key point, because you see oftentimes when people do this environmental sanitation, they clear the gutters, they will then allow it to pile up somewhere.
They put the silt just in
beside,
front of the side of the
because it then defeats the purpose of what you've done. Because when it rains, it will wash everything back.
You need to clear it up immediately.
5, launch an operation Ensure Your Drainage is Clear campaign, requiring every household to keep their frontage drainage clean with stiff sanctions for defaulters. Now, the long-term suggestions: 1, expand the use of pumping stations and introduce smart flood monitoring technology, sensors, early warning alerts for at-risk communities. 2, strengthening enforcement by linking construction approvals with strict environmental clearance to deter illegal structures on floodplains. And I think this is a major challenge because even till now, there's still a lot of quote-unquote illegal structures that are being mounted, right? So this is a major challenge that the current administration is still dealing with. 3, apply stiffer sanctions for illegal dumping, reclamations, or construction on floodplains to serve as strong deterrents. 4, partner with the private sector for sustainable waste management innovations, including recycling hubs that reduce the amount of waste entering drains. And I completely agree with this. As the world is going green and the innovation is happening, I mean, in the West, in certain countries, you can't just dispose of your waste anyhow.
Exactly.
You separate your plastic waste, your reusable or recyclable waste from the very organic waste. So it will be great for us. Yes, we may not get there in a year or two, but at least to start the
work
drive.
needs to start now, and they need to be strict on enforcement.
Absolutely.
And we also have this way of, when the danger is not clear and immediate, we just go back to sleep and relax, because when the dry season is here,
everybody moves on.
The problem is not immediate, and people are renting houses in Lekki, everybody's happy, the agents are showing you houses. You forget that you have
a flood
problem.
Do you know that
it comes, and the best time to work and put on all this infrastructure is during the dry season.
Haven't you realized that sometimes it's even just before the rainy season that they start running helter-skelter to fix roads and fix bridges, and we're wondering, like, you can see that it's been dry. You had all this time to work on the road. You didn't work on the road. It's not during almost at the rainy season that we're seeing.
And another thing we need to also invest in is the quality of our roads. If you look at the Lekki-Epe Express Road, it's in shambles. But the new modern type of roads that they're fixing now, like the Epe, the Dangote refinery, the Lekki, Ibeju-Lekki, it's concrete, and you can see the thickness of the concrete. I think it's better to just spend that money, do it once, so you don't have to do repair works every few months. Because
I agree.
What you're seeing on the Lekki-Epe road now, if you think, let the rain stop, you'll see that it's almost like it's washed up all the makeup, and there are potholes everywhere. It's in a terrible state. Really terrible state.
But what are the causes of floods, and how can we mitigate the harsh impact of these floods on us as a society? Just to quickly land on that, the rapid urbanization of Lagos. Structures are coming up every other day, and it doesn't feel like, for some of them, that there's proper they've gotten the proper approvals. And when we talk about the environmental impact assessment being carried out on before certain constructions or deconstructions are being carried out, we don't know how well that works.
I also want to applaud the Lagos state government for, taking responsibility and, being forthright in their communication, because some defenders of the government have come up with, because there's a typhoon in China, didn't you see what happened in China? It's an
act of God. I saw that.
Yeah, please, you don't need that.
Well, even before we start to talk about the act of God, they also have notices and plans to say, okay, this is going to happen, and this is how we intend to protect our citizens.
And in China, there was a part where they evacuated over 1 million citizens because of this. Talk about proactiveness.
Well, but let's see what Nigerians are saying on X, as always, regarding the flooding in Lagos. There's also conversation about VDM talking to his followers on patriotic cleanup nationwide. But let's take some of these reactions. Madam Rose Viver says, my heart goes out to all the people that are spending their hard-earned money on car repairs and house repairs at such a difficult time in Nigeria, with school fees and other bills pending. The many who were stressed yesterday, praying that their cars don't break down as the water entered their cars up to their knees, and to the many whose cars broke down. The many that got home past 12 a.m. yesterday. The APC Lagos have tried their best for over 20 years. Every year, they give you a different excuse. They have tried, they have failed. It is time to try something different. You deserve better, you can have better. # Our Lagos. That's by Badaba Rose Viver. 1.2 trillion naira IGR yearly, and you cannot fix drainage.
Food for thought. Yeah, it's not just a drainage problem. You can't fix drainage, you can't fix street lights. Lots of your roads are pothole ridden. So, you keep boasting about generating revenue. These are very critical and, very poignant questions that Lagos taxpayers are asking. Why?
Why? Chidi Andrew says, the health hazard, business premises ruined, house on rocks became house in sea, ground floor apartment dwellers became aquatic animals. The need for canoe as transportation means is heart-wrenching. It's not even funny because honestly, people needed to move around and a canoe would have been better. Lagos doesn't experience much rain for this kind of flooding. The average rainfall in Lagos has dropped drastically in the last 5 years. Yet, when it rains, it pours. The citizens have a role to play, but government displacement of water body while having poor drainage system is the cause.
Engineer.
Lagos fails to plan and enforce, and it's the effect of not planning that we are seeing today, and it's going to get worse. You'll ask yourself, what is actually the reason why landed property and rent is so expensive on the island? No reason at all. That person who was talking about the penultimate, okay, let's go through the tweet. If something drastic is not done to address the Lagos flood by next year, we'll not only be reporting flood alone, but there will be unprecedented casualties recorded. I really hope we don't get to the point. This should be treated as an emergency by the government, according to Joshua Imo. Do we have more tweets, or is that a wrap? All right. I saw the tweet of someone says blaming Lagos State, and I remembered when the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway was being established, and there were talks of demolition. I remember a journalist, Leila Johnson Salami, asking the Honorable Minister if they had carried out an environmental impact assessment, which he had said, oh yes, they will give to her, and I don't think she ever got it. So that's the thing that I've seen. You know, it's a question that easily comes to mind. With the speed with which we are urbanizing Lagos State, we're pushing the water back, we're building, you know, we're reclaiming water bodies. If you're reclaiming water bodies, eventually you can't completely cheat nature. Are we making alternative plans to ensure that the adverse effects, we don't feel the adverse effects, or that we minimize the impact? There have been projections, and with climate change, I know that there are a number of people who do not believe climate change, but we can see the impact.
Temperatures are rising across the world, and solar caps are melting. Lagos is a coastal city. It's basic science. So
well, that basic science is not so basic to a number of people who still not agree with that. However, we must see that, like you said, temperatures are rising. The hot weather is unusually hot. The cold is cooler. The rains are heavier.
Extreme
and this points to the fact that there's an emergency that needs to be had. And we must jump in on the climate conversation, not just as a country, but as a continent. The role that Africa as a continent has to play, because unfortunately we contribute the least to climate global warming, but we feel the effects the most. So we must start to think of ways to protect and look at ourselves, you know, and look out for ourselves as well, to ensure that we do not end up having to be at the receiving end of the impact of climate change for reasons that we did not actually cause.
And we need to stop the fire brigade approach and be proactive, and also envisage some of these issues that might come up. I mean, Lagos is a coastal state, so the authorities should know better, and this is no excuse for the disruption of lives and, you know, the extra bills citizens have to incur. We need to do better as a people and as a government. Okay, still talking environment. Let's move on to our next conversation. Martin Vincent Ose, I believe that's his name, popularly known as VDM, as taxed his followers, popularly known as Rattles, on a patriotic clean-up nationwide. I guess everybody is in their, you know, environmental feelings these days, which is good. But let's take a listen to what he had to say to his Rattles.
From the 29th of November 2025, which will be on Saturday, we, the Rattle movement, are taking over Nigeria. We are shutting down this country. That being said, we are not shutting it down in terms of violence. We are shutting it down in terms of impact. We are going to start what has never been seen before in Nigeria. We are going to be moving from just being on social media, claiming to be Rattles, to presenting ourselves in real life and impacting, like direct impact in our society. Now, what are we going to be doing? Starting from the 29th, being the Saturday, last Saturday of November, moving on, every Saturday, every last Saturday of every month, we, the Rattles, are going to come out to do community service. We'll be jumping into every gutters, clearing the, what did they call them again? Clearing the sewage. The drainage. The drainage. We are going to be clearing the drainage. Not just that, we'll go into public schools, we'll clean the public schools, all these places where they are like dirty, where they don't heap dirty for roadside. We'll go there, we'll clear it. In all 36 states, in Abuja, we'll do it in Gwarimpa, we'll do it in Maraba, we'll do it in Nyanya, we'll do it in Kubwa, we'll do it in Lube. All these places that are dirty, we are going to go into them and we are going to clear it up. Now, why are we going to do this? We want to promote patriotism in the hearts of the youth. We are not going to limit the problems of Nigeria solely to the politicians. Yes, the politicians, they do out their own, but we self, when time don't reach up, we say we will need to contribute to make this country great. Now, the day when I get this inspiration for it, now the day when we say, at the come, Lagos, 3rd Mainland Bridge, person day for 3rd Mainland Bridge, they shit. And people, they pass on. A lot of people see that guy that they pass on. It is because we lack patriotism in Nigeria. We lack patriotism in Africa. Because if to say you love your country enough, if you tell that guy make it stand, make it no shit for there. A lot of times you go they pass road. Like I just left Akwa Ibom. On my way to Ibom Resort, there one place where we say they heap dirty for road. For road, people they pass, nobody get clear out.
The clarion call from the president of the Rattle Nation, Martin Vincent, also. VeryDarkMan's saying they're going to embark on a 36-state cleaning exercise and has rallied Nigerian youths to be part of it and to clean and also, imbibe the culture of cleanliness. Like they say, cleanliness is next to godliness. But let's take a listen to what Nigerians, or let's look at what Nigerians are saying in reaction to this call by VeryDarkMan. Shehu says, it's gotten to a point where citizens have to hit the streets and clean the environment ourselves in a country where we pay taxes on everything, for goodness sake. Nice idea though, National Association of Adjusters always redefining the norm. So Shehu is saying that, look, it's not even our business to, haven't you paid for environmental services and cleaning? We pay taxes, the government should step up its game. But as Nigerians, we always adjust. There's a saying that you push a Nigerian to the wall, he will break the wall and it will keep running. So, but he applauds the idea. Let's see if we have other tweets. Dom Frankson says, stop normalizing failure. Citizens shouldn't carry brooms while politicians carry our billions. Yes, keep your surrounding clean. But a national cleanup movement in a country where taxes and all wealth are looted, that's misplaced energy. The real cleanup Nigeria needs is in governance. Dom Frankson.
Well, the next tweet from Vishal Tech Zone says, this is a great initiative. Cleanliness is key to promoting a healthy environment. Let's all come together and support this cause for a cleaner Nigeria. Hashtag patriotism, hashtag clean Nigeria. And do we have any other tweets? Sunrise says, VDM living in a different dimension to all Nigerians. In an ideal world, this would work, but bro, these people have been too much to now work for free. Another angle. Okay.
Ask not what your country can do for you, but what
you can do for your country.
Who said that?
Don't forget the name. But no, they usually start it to be a Martin Luther King or a
Abraham Lincoln.
I've heard a number of people being, but I've forgotten, I'm not. Anyway, the summary of what I was trying to say is, I can understand. I think that it's a great call to
the idea behind
teach citizens or to encourage patriotism. I remember when Fela Durotoye was running for office, we saw a lot of that, a lot of clips of he would be driving and he would see maybe trash on the road and he would stop and pick it up and people would be like, oh, he's doing eye service because he's running for office. But I also recall, and I've shared this story more than once on this platform, where I was at a certain popular restaurant in Lekki, supermarket in Lekki, where at the car park and this very lovely, massive SUV wound down and threw a PET bottle out of the window. And I was parked beside the person. So I went out of my car when they picked up the PET bottle and showed the person like this and shook my head. And then I walked to the trash, showed the person and threw it in the trash. And I had hoped that had communicated the message of embarrassment.
I'm sure it did.
But the truth is that some people, they don't get shame. And it really irks me every time I would see on the road, in vehicles, in the buses, people are eating and flinging things out of
That's where it starts from. So multiply people like that in their thousands and hundreds, then it becomes a problem.
So we need to go back to the roots. When we were much younger, we used to be made to pick trash in school. Remember then, when during break time, or even part of your punishment, they won't hit you. They will tell you, go and pick around, you pick the dirt around the whole the whole campus or the whole school rather. We need to go back to inculcating that
you
culture.
need to automatically know that throwing out a pet bottle
is a non-negotiable. Like you can't even think about it.
It's
like
embarrassing. You need to have that
we don't have shame.
Dignity and shame.
We don't have shame. I've forgotten which of the sporting events it was that was held, and the Asians right after started picking after them. They stayed back in the stadium.
Yes, the Japanese. Yeah,
yeah.
It happens at the Olympics.
And then they stayed back after to start picking after them. And I said, what a great mindset it would be to get to this point where subconsciously every Nigerian knows that you don't need to throw trash somewhere.
And we also
clean
need
up after yourself.
Seriously penalize open defecation and urinating in public.
I
the
agree.
men are very guilty of that.
Someone in the open distance,
open
car door, come outside,
unsolicited sites that you didn't even plan to see.
That being
everywhere.
Said,
some will even face the roadside. It's that terrible.
That being said, we must also ensure that we're penalizing it. We're also increasing the number of toilets. We need access to public toilets where people can go and use the bathroom. They can go and do their business in there. When there aren't enough public toilets, it's not enough to just say you're penalizing people, because we must recognize that there are people that are homeless.
Have to answer the call of nature also.
And when nature calls, you must answer. You dare not cut the call.
You must pick up your phone.
You must pick up your phone. So for you to pick up that call, there has to be an avenue that allows you to express that.
And to clean, and also, imbibe the culture of cleanliness. Like they say, cleanliness is next to godliness. But let's take a listen to what Nigerians, or let's look at what Nigerians are saying in reaction to this call by VeryDarkMan's. Shehu says, it's gotten to a point where citizens have to hit the streets and clean the environment ourselves in a country where we pay taxes on everything, for goodness sake. Nice idea though, National Association of Adjusters always redefining the norm. So Shehu is saying that, look, it's not even our business to, haven't you paid for environmental services and cleaning? We pay taxes, the government should step up its game. But as Nigerians, we always adjust. There's a saying that you push a Nigerian to the wall, he will break the wall and it will keep running. So, but he applauds the idea. Let's see if we have other tweets. Dom Frankson says, stop normalizing failure. Citizens shouldn't carry brooms while politicians carry our billions. Yes, keep your surrounding clean. But a national cleanup movement in a country where taxes and all wealth are looted, that's misplaced energy. The real cleanup Nigeria needs is in governance. Dom Frankson.
Well, the next tweet from Vishal Tech Zone says, this is a great initiative. Cleanliness is key to promoting a healthy environment. Let's all come together and support this cause for a cleaner Nigeria. Hashtag patriotism, hashtag clean Nigeria. And do we have any other tweets? Sunrise says, VDM living in a different dimension to all Nigerians. In an ideal world, this would work, but bro, these people have been too much to now work for free. Another angle. Okay.
Ask not what your country can do for you, but what
you can do for your country.
Who said that?
Don't forget the name. But no, they usually start it to be a Martin Luther King or a
Abraham Lincoln.
I've heard a number of people being, but I've forgotten, I'm not. Anyway, the summary of what I was trying to say is, I can understand. I think that it's a great call to
the idea behind
teach citizens or to encourage patriotism. I remember when Fela Durotoye was running for office, we saw a lot of that, a lot of clips of he would be driving and he would see maybe trash on the road and he would stop and pick it up and people would be like, oh, he's doing eye service because he's running for office. But I also recall, and I've shared this story more than once on this platform, where I was at a certain popular restaurant in Lekki, supermarket in Lekki. We're at the car park and this very lovely, massive SUV wound down and threw a PET bottle out of the window. And I was parked beside the person. So I went out of my car when they picked up the PET bottle and showed the person like this and shook my head. And then I walked to the trash, showed the person and threw it in the trash. And I had hoped that had communicated a message of embarrassment.
I'm sure it did.
But the truth is that some people, they don't get shame. And it really irks me every time I would see on the road, in vehicles, in the buses, people are eating and flinging things out of
that's where it starts from. So multiply people like that in their thousands and hundreds, then it becomes a problem.
So we need to go back to the roots. When we were much younger, we used to be made to pick trash in school. Remember then, when during break time, or even part of your punishment, they will hit you. They will tell you, go and pick around, you pick the dirt around the whole the whole campus or the whole school rather. We need to go back to inculcating that
You need
culture.
to automatically know that throwing out a pet bottle
is a non-negotiable. Like you can't even think about it.
It's
like
embarrassing. You need to have that
we don't have shame.
Dignity and shame.
We don't have shame. I've forgotten which of the sporting events it was that was held, and the Asians right after started picking after them. They stayed back in the stadium.
Yes, the Japanese. Yeah,
Yeah.
it happens at the Olympics.
And then they stayed back after to start picking after them. And I said, what a great mindset it would be to get to this point where subconsciously every Nigerian knows that you don't need to throw trash somewhere.
And we also
clean
need
up after
to
yourself.
seriously penalize open defecation and urinating in public.
I
The
agree.
men are very guilty of that.
Someone in the open distance,
No, it's
open car door,
terrible.
come outside, feed on the
Unsolicited
street.
sites that you didn't even plan to see.
That being said-
everywhere. Some will even face the roadside. It's that terrible.
That being said, we must also ensure that we're penalizing it. We're also increasing the number of toilets. We need access to public toilets where people can go and use the bathroom, they can go and do their business in there. When there aren't enough public toilets, it's not enough to just say you're penalizing people, because we must recognize that there are people that are homeless.
Have to answer
they
the
don't
call of
have,
nature also.
and when nature calls, you must answer. You dare not cut the call.
You must pick up your phone.
You must pick up your phone. So for you to pick up that call, there has to be an avenue that allows you to express that. So I agree with the penalization of people who practice open defecation, but I think that we must run it vis-a-vis ensuring that there are adequate toilets, so that when you're arresting somebody, there's a valid reason, because there was a toilet within a certain square kilometers where the person decided to do that very dastardly act, because it is what it is, very terrible act. But that's what I have this morning on Wake Up Conversations. We'll now head to our top stories. Let's share with you what we're looking at this morning. This morning on Breakfast Central, our top stories: PENGASSAN and NUPENG rejects federal government's plan to sell NNPCL assets. Political tension rise ahead of Anambra's gubernatorial elections. And the state police, local government autonomy tops National Assembly agenda in the conversation about constitutional review. Reps inaugurate oversight committee, commence investigation in Naira-for-Crude Oil policy. And we'll review the newspaper front pages as we do every morning. Join us for these and more.
Welcome back to Breakfast Central. The House of Representatives has inaugurated an ad hoc committee to oversee the implementation of federal government Naira-for-Crude Oil policy. The Speaker of the House, Honorable Abbas Tajuddin, while inaugurating the committee, described the move as a critical step to strengthen the economy and ensure transparency in the energy sector. News Central correspondent Edong Joseph reports.
Declaring the committee inaugurated, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, represented by Minority Leader Kingsley Chinda, says that the initiative is expected to stabilize foreign exchange, enhance revenue generation, and guide Nigeria's energy security. He tasked members with identifying gaps in the policy and recommending adjustments that will align with its objectives.
This committee has been entrusted with the important task of investigating the implementation, effectiveness, and interagency coordination of the Naira-for-Crude Oil policy. Its work is vital to ensuring that the objectives of the policy are met and that any gaps in execution are identified and corrected.
The Speaker added that the committee's work must be thorough and impartial, providing guidance to strengthen legislative oversight, as well as ensuring that the policy contributes meaningfully to national development.
The task before this ad hoc committee requires diligence, it requires courage, and it requires a clear sense of purpose. Mr. Speaker urges members of the committee to carry out their assignment with integrity, objectivity, and dedication, bearing in mind that their deliberations and recommendations will shape the course of this policy and influence the well-being of millions of Nigerians.
On his part, the committee's chairman emphasized that its work will reduce pressure on external reserves and boost confidence in local currency, thereby stimulating domestic economic activities.
The Naira-for-Crude Oil policy is one of such innovation. It seeks to provide a framework where transactions in our crude oil sector can increasingly be denominated into Naira rather than in foreign currencies. The shift, if properly structured, will not only boost confidence in Naira, but also reduce pressure on our foreign reserves.
The committee is expected to engage stakeholders across government, the oil and gas sector, and financial institutions before submitting its recommendations to guide legislative action. In Abuja for News Central, Idong Joseph.
Thank you, Idong Joseph. And now to other stories. The federal government's proposed plan to sell off significant stakes in joint venture assets managed by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, is facing fierce resistance. Two of Nigeria's most powerful oil unions, PENGASSAN and NUPENG, have come out swinging, warning that the move could bankrupt NNPCL, destabilize the economy, and jeopardize the welfare of thousands of oil workers. Joining us for this conversation much later, we'll have a guest joining us. But first, let's take a look at this video.
Privilege, like all privileges, they come with responsibility, and they have a responsibility to themselves, to the profession, to society, and they must live up to that responsibility. Now, you could capture the essence of...
Right, we apologize for that. We most likely will definitely get into that conversation much later. The question is to sell or not to sell these NNPCL assets. Well, you can go ahead and start to drop your thoughts in the YouTube live stream. We're streaming live on YouTube at News Central TV. And now, the body of Senior Advocates of Nigeria, also known as BOSAN, has called on this year's newly inducted senior advocates to regard their elevation as a solemn call to leadership, integrity, and service. The appeal was made during the induction ceremony held in Abuja. BOSAN urged the new SAN designates to embrace the elevation as a commitment to the legal profession, the society, and the nation at large.
Privilege, like all privileges, they come with responsibility, and they have a responsibility to themselves, to the profession, to society, and they must live up to that responsibility. Now, you could capture the essence of that responsibility by who they will be considered to be, who they must be, and that is leaders. They are leaders not only of the profession, but also leaders of society by virtue of wearing the rank.
A professional without integrity, especially a lawyer, is like a dead on arrival person. Integrity is so important because it defines the totality of what you do as a lawyer. Your relationship with clients, your relationship with the society, relationship with the court, relationship with ordinary persons. You must be seen as a man of integrity. And once you possess that, it promotes whatever you say you stand for, and also promotes the rule of law and the respect for our profession.
The essence of the induction is to refresh our minds on what is expected of us upon being sworn in as senior advocates of Nigeria, how we are expected to carry the rank and conduct ourselves. Basically, it's all about the etiquette that is being expected of us and how we are expected to be leaders of the bar.
Congratulations to the newly elected, the newly appointed SANs, and like we hear, it is of course a call to represent the Nigerian Bar Association and the society at large.
What do you call them? Silks?
Leonard Silk.
Leonard Silk.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a prestigious, it's a prestigious position.
The pinnacle of the profession.
As an advocate.
Okay.
Because you can either decide to be an advocate or you decide to be at the bench. Of course, at the bench, you can get as high as becoming the Chief Justice, or becoming yeah, exactly. So for those who...
where are you now? Are you an advocate? Are you on the bench?
I'm an advocate. I advocate for the masses, for the cause of the everyday Nigerian. Yeah. So I'm a senior advocate of broadcasting.
Yes, SAP.
Thank you.
Congratulations to you.
Thank you very much for that. And on that note, let's share a recap of what we've discussed so far and then share with you what's coming up next on Breakfast Central. And reject federal government's plan to sell NNPCL assets. We'll look into this conversation much later as well. Reps inaugurate oversight committee, commence investigation in Naira-for-Crude Oil policy. And body of SAN urges inductees to maintain high standards during 2025 legal elevation. For Central, political tension rise ahead Anambra gubernatorial elections. State police, local government autonomy tops National Assembly agenda in constitutional review. Economic reforms boost Naira currency outlook.
Welcome back to Breakfast Central. We now shift our focus to Anambra State, where political temperatures are rising ahead of the November 8th gubernatorial elections. The stakes are high, the rhetoric is sharp, and the battle lines are drawn.
Absolutely. From defections to fiery campaign trails, Anambra is shaping up to be more than just a contest. It's a referendum on governance, loyalty, and the future of the Southeast. Joining us for today's discussion is the National Publicity Secretary of the All Progressives Grand Alliance, APGA, the party that has held sway in Anambra since 2006. Our guest today is Mazi Ejimofo Okpara. Good morning, Mazi. Thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, good morning, and thank you for having me.
All right. APGA has dominated the scene in Anambra State for nearly 2 decades, but we've seen a lot of defections in the most recent times, from APGA to APC. Recently, 4 sitting lawmakers moved from APGA to APC, and some would argue that it's not just political movement, that it might lead to an erosion of the party. Would you say that APGA still has a firm grip on Anambra's political soul?
Okay, good morning. That's a misinformation. 4 legislators or lawmakers did not move from APGA to the APC. What you had, it's a normal occurrence that has been more or less like a part of the political season where people move about. But basically, the actual report is that 2 lawmakers from Labour Party, 1 from the YPP and 1 from APGA. So the story is not about 4 APGA House members now. It's just 1, and then 2 Labour Party lawmakers and 1 YPP lawmaker. But this is not, we saw more than this in 2021, the build up to 2021 election, and it's what it is. The season is here upon us again, where people go about trading their interest for maybe pecuniary reasons, but that does not in any way show any form of grip or any form of hold by the opposition parties in the coming election. It's just the way they tend to, maybe it's a morale boosting exercise for them that they have gone ahead and pushed, or maybe use the right terminology, bought, a few members of the House, some of whom, in all honesty, do not have any tangible or substantial electoral value. They're just there. Some of them are in their terminal year. Like the guy from the YPP, he comes from an area where representation is rotated across the major components or major towns of the local government. So for him, he has not done in the fact. So whatever it is that is thrown at him, well, he jumps on it. And the one from the Labour Party, well, maybe they are running from the sinking ship that Labour Party has become in Anambra State. And the one from APGA, same, but in every 12 there must be a Judas. So we're not surprised. But the beauty of all this is that they bear no significant impact on the strength or the morale, or if you like, the result that we anticipate. In this election, we are looking beyond local governments. Actually, our target is to win the 5,720 polling units. That's the target. And we believe strongly that with our massive support base, it's going to be a landslide, not just victory, but let me use the word decimation of the opposition in Anambra State. And these things are, like you have rightly mentioned, founded on the fact that ABGA is not just a political party for the name, just a political party, every other political party. ABGA is a movement. ABGA is a people's movement. And it's a movement that is founded on utmost good faith. Faith in the fact that the people have, in the last 22 years or so, witnessed some profound developmental strides from the party. It has been on a steady ascendancy. Now, the current administration of Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo has taken it notches higher in every ramification of development that you can think of, from education to health to infrastructure to economy to security, and in every dimension, it has been a litany of achievements, for the people, and these things are feelable. I will tell you, if you want to understand what's happening in Anambra currently, you would have to put them in two buckets: the essential tangibles and the essential intangibles. The government has been able to essentially, in the intangible, what you may call the intangible term, be able to initiate a social re-engineering never before seen in the state. A situation where the government has, through the instrumentality of the law, been able to bring about order, from the chaotic social malady that was plaguing, our people. A situation where young people no longer reckoned with hard work, where they felt there was, some sharp practice that one must do to be able to make money. You talk about what has now become popularly known as the Oso Soludo, where there has been a law, the Anambra State Homeland Security Law, that has put in check the activities of nefarious, witch or native doctors who go about, deceiving our young people, telling them how you can make money through charms and concoctions and all what have you. But today, we have put that in check, and there is a new social reawakening that the young people are going back to hard work, going back to legitimate means of livelihood. This like I captioned it, is an essential, intangible, and has put society on a pathway to sustainable progress and development.
Mazi, you just to interrupt, you speak about a decimation of the opposition party. By decimation of the opposition party, which party are you referring to here?
All of them put in one box.
Okay, so by all of them, I would assume that you mean including
the YPP.
I would assume that you mean including the APC, right?
Absolutely.
But does it matter that Governor Soludo had declared his support for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu?
Well, let me put this in context. When it has to do with localized elections that border around Anambra and the core Anambra elections, be it the state assembly, national assembly, and the governorship seat, you leave it for ABGA. Anambra is ABGA land. It's everyone. It has become a national understanding that Anambra is ABGA land, and we don't shy away from saying this. We own this place, So when we talk about the broader spectrum of the Nigerian politics, we have come to understand that parties align along their ideological orientation, and much of what you call alliance with the national is born out of our realization and acceptance that in most dimensions of development and policy, we align with the progress and the developmental strides of the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who has proven to be a progressive in every ramification. So when we say progressives are working together, we understand that even within the progressives, there are some unprogressive elements. And when you come to the Anambra APC, you find much of them, who hop around, going from party to party, who see political parties are just mere special purpose vehicles, just for convenience. They believe in nothing. They only believe in their own ambition. Those people, we don't categorize them as progressives. Progressives are people who believe in the principles of progressivism. And when you talk about the principles of progressivism, you're talking about a political ideology that puts the people first in everything that they do. And that is what we do in ABGA, and that's what we represent in ABGA. If you look at much of the policies of the federal government under the Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration and what Governor Soludo is doing, they align on so many fronts. We talk about sustainable new welfareism, a situation where we don't just empower people with handouts, but we empower them sustainably to be able to fend for themselves, more or less like not giving them fish, but teaching them how to fish. So you look at what we have here in the One Youth Two Skill initiative, where the current administration of Governor Charles Chukwuma Soludo has trained and empowered over 5,000 young persons, with various skills in various skill areas. And in the next few days, another set of 8,300 of these young persons will be graduating. You're talking about a situation where the Solution Innovation District has...
sorry to interrupt you.
To empower young people with tech skills. Okay.
Sorry to interrupt you. We would like to bring in our second guest into the discussion at this point in time. Dr. Onyeka Nwafor used to be the gubernatorial candidate for Anambra APC. A warm welcome to you, Dr. Nwafor.
Let me correct it. Governorship aspirant, not candidate. The candidate is Prince Nicholas Okachukwu.
Okay, aspirant. Thank you so much for joining us. What's your assessment of the APGA administration of Governor Chukwuma Soludo in the last 4 years? Do you think he's done enough to deserve a re-election in November?
About the Governor Chukwuma Soludo's stay in office, it is so clear that he doesn't deserve to continue. This is not about APC, this is not about PDP, this is not about Labour Party. This is about what Anambra has gone through. Starting from the day he took over office as the governor of Anambra State, he came with so many promises: Anambra, Dubai, Taiwan, how he's going to regionalize the state. But the truth of the matter is that a lot of atrocities has been committed, starting from the issues of kidnapping. At least I could remember last year, Anambra ranked the first of ransom paid. You say these things are very clear for us to see. See, another thing, the question I keep on asking, how much has Governor Chukwuma Soludo collected from the federal government since President Bola Tinubu came in power? And what is the measurement? How do you measure those money to the work that is on ground? See, this is not about the election now. This is about his performance. He can't stand up and tell me that he's doing road, he has done this, has done the other one, when the life of the people is still at stake. As I'm talking to you
what
today,
about the Dubai, Taiwan?
Still being kidnapped?
What about the Dubai, Taiwan mantra of the administration, saying, that the development, the level of development is comparable to what's obtainable in other climes? Do you think that's more of a hype than reality?
That is not even, it can't even be reality. That is, as well as sometimes it's phantom. He said all those things to cajole the people to vote for APGA. So that is even what it is. At the time he did it, how can you turn a state to Dubai, Taiwan when there is no security? Dubai, Taiwan when there is no foundation? You see, so you will definitely know that this is not going to work. But in order to get the people to vote, so he has to play the game. His government, at this point in time, can't claim that he has done so much. No. his government has not attended to the needs of common Anambra people.
When you say the government, you're referring to the APGA government, right?
The APGA government, Professor Chukwuma Soludo's government.
All right,
that's what I'm referring to.
Let's have the right of response from Ms. Mazi Ejimofo-Okpara, who is, in this case, representing APGA. Do you agree with him that Governor Soludo hasn't really delivered on his mandates to the Anambra?
With a non-issue, well, these are mere rhetoric of the opposition who are battling for relevance, because it's a very simple question to the gentleman you mentioned as the aspirant. Well, I wouldn't know when and how he aspired, but the fundamental thing that you should ask him: is it in doubt that Anambra has become one single construction site? Is it in doubt that Okpoko has been regenerated from a hitherto urban slum to now what they now call Okpoko New Heaven? Is it in doubt that Ochanja, that used to be a refuse dump, has today become a water fountain where people move around and freely? Is it in doubt that over 900 kilometers of road has been awarded, over 600 kilometers commission? Is it in doubt that over 174 kilometers of what you call federal road are currently being dualized by the Soludo administration? Is it in doubt that Governor Soludo has employed, in the first 5 months of this administration, 5,000 teachers, and in the first 9 months, 8,115 teachers? Is it in doubt that today in Anambra State, Anambra that had no befitting government house and governor's lodge today now has a befitting government house and governor's lodge, sitting on over 28 hectares of land with about 57 structures sprawling and very beautiful scenery? Is it in doubt that Oka, that used to be hitherto defined as a glorified village, is now wearing a very wonderful urban look? Is it in doubt that Ekulobia, a hitherto semi-urban location, is now regenerated and wearing a perfect urban look? When people come up to talk about insecurity, especially those in opposition, what comes to my head is orchestration, because some of these guys, it now looks like they come and they are part of those who orchestrate some of these pockets of breaches, security breaches, so as to have impetus or have something to campaign with. It is not in doubt that when the Soludo came into office in 2022, 8 local governments were under siege by non-state actors, some of whom this gentleman here may have supported as freedom fighters or agitators. Now, we decided that we were not going to negotiate with people who have, caused mayhem and violence on our people. And what happened? In less than first 5 months of this administration, we were able to tackle this, this malaise of insecurity around the 8 local governments that I talk about, and rescue these 8 local governments. Before, ask the gentleman in the studio, in 2021, were they able to campaign in parts of Ihiala? Were they able to campaign in Obaru? Were they able to campaign in some parts of Agwata and Orumba? People sit here and it's convenient for them to just say a thing. In the last just concluded by-election on August 16, go and read the INEC report on that election. That elections held in the 118 wards that make up the Anambra South senatorial zone, including what used to be the hotbed, Ihiala, and co. And someone is sitting in your studio telling that Governor Soludo is all rhetoric and is all this, and you ask him, does he live in that same city? Someone mentioned in your studio the last time that imagine if Charlie Kirk was from Anambra State and he was assassinated in the dimension or in the way he was assassinated. What would be the position of the opposition? What would they say about Anambra? But who has come out today to say America is unsafe or America is a chaotic bunch or whatever? Let me help the gentleman in the studio. He doesn't understand the African Dubai, Taiwan, Silicon Valley metaphor of Governor Charles Chukwuma Soludo. Maybe I would have to explain it to him. For every development, the developments are benchmarked against, against certain what you may call models. So if you want to, you even in humans, we have those we call role models. You want to be like a thing. You want to go to somewhere. This is exactly how I want my house to look. And you ask yourself, why do we say Dubai? Dubai has become more or less like the tourism and logistic hub of the world, where people go about it, they do businesses and all that. We'll talk about Taiwan. Taiwan is renowned for its human capital development. And how does that relate to what Governor Soludo is doing in Anambra State? When you look at the 1U2 scheme, look at the SID, Social Innovation District, where young people, over 70,000 young persons have been empowered with different tech skills. How does it differ with the fact that there's a conscious investment in the education of our young people, where the government has declared totally free education, which I know some kid and kin of the gentleman in the studio are enjoying today? We're talking about development, we're talking about access to qualitative health care, that today in Anambra State, pregnant women attend free antenatal and delivery, including cesarean session, and by the last check, over 150,000 women have benefited.
Just to mention, I mean, since you're talking about Mazi, since you're talking about healthcare, I want to quote something that the APC gubernatorial candidate had said. He said regarding the hospitals, he said, at the moment, our hospitals in the state are glorified mortuaries. Then he goes on to say, I am worth billions and can't owe billions as talkatives are wagging their tongues. Academic certificates do not make people what they think they are. So I wanted you to, expand further on the state of healthcare, seeing as you've talked about maternal healthcare. What's the general state of healthcare in Anambra State?
Well, I think that the Bill Gates Foundation, the Dangote Foundation, and the Young Governors Forum were not fooled, or they were not just speaking to rhetoric, if I may use their word, when they recognized that Anambra is the regional and national champion in healthcare development. Anambra won an award just last year as the regional champion, where we got $500,000 as prize money, and the national champion, where we won $700,000, totaling $1.2 million, as regional and national champions in healthcare development. This was not by some spurious or pay-as-you-go agency, data agencies that the type they are quoting, the Philips Consultants of this world, who come up to, with some bogus data that are non-representative and maybe orchestrated by the opposition just to, smear the work of the good works that is evidenced and very much tangible to people in Anambra State. So I'm just giving you one. So if probably Anambra, the healthcare system in Anambra is almost like mortuary, like the F9 candidate of the APC has alleged, then he should. Then there is something fundamentally wrong with what Bill Gates and Dangote Foundation and even the Nigerian Governors Forum has said about Anambra State healthcare development and healthcare system. So when he talks about F9, makes allusion to his what many have come to realize as forged certificate. Anambra has gone far beyond the candidacy of Anukachukwu. This is not pride. It is who we are. This is Anambra State of Chinua Achebe. This is Anambra State of Alex Ekwueme. Anambra State of Ojukwus. This is Anambra State of Zik of Africa. That in the over 50, 60 years ago, some of the leaders had bagged very reputable degrees, had become global leaders, top leaders. And 50 years after and more, we're talking about having a leader who could not pass English language or pass mathematics or even pass economics. We should be serious here. This is not the kind of Anambra that these persons envisaged or they handed over to our people. So for him, he has a whole lot to deal with, including his debt profile and those who are chasing him about the country, and all that. He should go and sort that out. So coming to talk about Anambra, it's beyond him, and this is just the fact. It's far, far beyond him. It's beyond the remit of his understanding. He cannot fathom it. So we don't just speak to bogus data. We speak to tangible evidence. And what you see with Anambra is tangible evidence that is unassailable. So the gentleman in the studio, if he wants, he should go around, even in his kindred. I am sure he cannot boldly go to his kindred and say what he's saying on television here today.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Marcy. We will go on a quick break, and I'm sure Dr. Nwafo has quite a lot to say in response to what you've said, and also recent development in Anambra State. But do stay with us. The conversation continues shortly.
Welcome back to the show. We're still looking at the countdown to the gubernatorial elections in November 8th, 2025. And we have two of our gentlemen who are here in the studio with us. We have Mazi Ejimofo Okpara here with us. Thank you very much, Mazi. Mazi is representing ABGA. And we also have the former Anambra State APC governorship aspirant, Dr. Onyeka Nwafo. Dr. Nwafo, a lot has been said by Mazi in sort of defending what Governor Soludo has done in Anambra State. And I believe that you have a right of response to this. And while you're responding to this, does it matter to you that the ABGA, of course, that the governor has aligned himself with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu?
First of all, I heard all he said. All he was busy reading out has the government have already built a government house, so on and so forth. My question is the old government house. What is the problem with it? Why are you being a haste to complete a government house that has been there when Anambra is being faced with several problems? This becomes the question. You see, this particular government sometimes wastes Anambra funds, as long as I'm concerned. There are important issues. The APC governorship candidate, Prince Nicholas Ukachukwu, was not wrong when he said that the hospital in Anambra is nothing to write home about. So this young man of Abga that is saying, you are talking on the studio, when Governor Soludo took over, I personally visited hospitals and donated to them children beds because there was none in most of the local governments. In most of the health centers and hospitals, they were bed traps. When newborn babies are given birth to, they are kept like that. You know, mosquito and all those things will be feasting on the babies. So they say they always want to come up with things to paint it that Governor Chukwuma Soludo has done well. I didn't say that Governor Chukwuma Soludo has not done anything, but you see, it cannot continue because Anambra State needs a dear change. And every time they keep on talking of F9, 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 okay, good. Governor Chukwuma Soludo is a professor, no doubt about it. But let's now bring, since he took over, how many lives has been lost? Let me go back to the issue of Iyala is talking about, saying Iyala today is a movable area and so on and so forth. He's lying. This is a complete big lie. Even Orumba South local government today, some of the towns in that place is under siege. So why are we acting as if there is nothing? When people has been killed, kidnapped, even in Watso Oka, I think the other one that happened was in Oka. Is this place not Anambra State? Why are they trying to shy away for the relationship with the president? We are not bothered. The president is the father of everybody in this nation. So anybody can decide to support our leader, our father. But you can't take away his children from him. So we are not bothered if he's supporting the president. We need the president to come back. So we even encourage everybody to support the president to come back. So this is it.
So how would you describe the political atmosphere in Anambra as we inch closer to the November elections? The quality of conversation, the debates, the campaigns, how do you see it panning out? Do you think the APC will stop the domination of APGA in Anambra State from what you've seen so far and from the feelers you're getting from Anambrarians?
Let me tell you when you talk of domination. Let me explain it to you. Let me use Lagos State as an example. Go to Lagos State. When elections are conducted, check the number of members of APC that contested that election and won. Check from House of Assembly, check from House of Rep, check from the Senate. You cannot say APGA is dominated in Anambra when APGA, how many senators does APGA
but the government
have?
house is the #1 political position in Anambra State. And they've been at the helm since 2006. So that's domination.
APGA is not being feared by anybody, not even APC. I can tell you that. Take this from me. APGA is not feared by APC, not even the YPP. Take this from me. By November 8th, Professor Chukwuma Soludo will be defeated. It will be like magic. The people will vote massively to vote him out of office. Nobody is scared about anything. That's just the simple truth. This is not about talks on the media. This is about the real vote on the day of the election.
Okay, let's bring back Mazi into the conversation. What would you say APGA has put in place to ensure its return on the 8th of November? Also, I wanted to ask, do you trust INEC? How are your feelings towards INEC's ability to be able to successfully discharge its duties?
Okay. Your questions are double-barreled, but let me start from the last one you asked, if I trust INEC. And, well, it's a work in progress. The August 16 election has also shown that we have implicit confidence in the electoral process and what INEC is doing to improve the process. There are candidates as Evangelist Nicholas Okachukwu declared that election as a do or die affair. And of course, I'm sure he is yet to wake up from the shock of that election, because he was won and even won in his own polling unit. So when somebody is telling you that Governor Soludo will be defeated coming November 8, the question you ask him is how? As long as this election would be about the votes, that the people will go about and vote, and therefore their votes will be counted and declared as voted, forget it, it's an ABGA thing. The converse is where they have their own forte, the converse. And by the converse, I mean, they want to write the results. They want to, just like we saw on August 16, where the candidate of the APC hijacked electoral materials and kidnapped INEC officials into his residence, in a bid to write the election in his own house and smuggle the result into the collation center. And the people resisted him. The people, they saw the resistance of the people first. And the only thing I would tell them is that nobody should joke with the result of the Anambra. When it has to do with what the Anambra, what they want and what they have seen with regards to the development and progress in the state, it has become, for them, it is a sentimental attachment to ABGA, because they have seen very progressive change. They have seen development at its truest and purest form. This is a party that has taken Anambra from the low and to the height it is going in the community of subnationals today, not just in terms of the quality of development and output, but in terms of the quality of individuals that it has been presenting over the time. Check the records. Let's talk about the first ABGA governor, Governor Peter Obi, BSc philosophy, and to his commendation, some modest achievements. You talk about, Governor Willie Obiano, BSc accounting, PhD and all that, Unilag, and you look at his modest achievement from the airport to the International Convention Center to various bridges and roads that he also did. Now it has come up to a Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo, who has taken all these things notches higher. Are these the quality of persons that Anambra have seen, and they want to go back to someone who couldn't even attempt a pass in mathematics or English or economics? Please, Anambra are very sophisticated. Anambra has parades the most sophisticated electorates you can think of, in the country, and they know where the state is, and they know where they want to take the state to. We're talking about, he's talking about the health system and being this. This is a government that has employed over 1,500 health officials and deployed to various PHCs and various tertiary healthcare centers. So is that in doubt? He should have reeled out some very verifiable achievements of this government. Has it been able to discountenance or be able to disprove any of the things I have said? And I'm happy he even had the courage to say that he is not saying Governor Soludo is not trying, has not done anything. I'm happy he said that, and thank you, my gentleman on the other side of the block, that for recognizing that at least that a Soludo has done something that is worthy of your commendation. And if you must be truthful to yourself, ask yourself, the place you call the government house, or that used to be the government house before now, for 34 years, it used to be the construction yard of the company that built the Enugu-Onitsha Express Road. A construction yard. If you go there, you see makeshift structures. Some made of wood, some of container. You know how a construction yard looks. This has been the government house for Anambra in the past 34 years until today, that Governor Soludo has broken the jinx by building what has been described as a mini city. He should be proud of that, and he should be proud that today, if the world assembles in Anambra, they will go into a befitting structure that is deserving of an A-state like Anambra. So if the elections are called today, trust me, I am not mincing words when I tell you that ABGA would have the day. And the target is not, in the past we've had 2021, maybe now we're looking at 326 over 326, or if we push harder, we'll have 5,720 over 5,720. He knows this for a fact. The gentleman in the studio there will vote for ABGA. He knows that for a fact.
Well, I don't know which gentleman in the studio they are speaking about. If it's my colleague here
He's
or
definitely not. He assumes Dr.
I mean the aspirant.
Okay, the former aspirant, Dr. Nwafo. Well, yeah. Dr. Nwafo has pledged his loyalty to the All Progressives Congress. At the end of the day, Anambra will decide on the 8th of November who is deserving of their votes, and beyond slogans and historical fame of certain parties or not, of the ABGA or maybe the influence of the APC, what Nigerians want to see is a party that would make promises and deliver on the mandate that it has promised the people. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us this morning on Breakfast Central.
Thank you.
All right, let's now move the conversation away from Anambra State and come back to the center. With the Senate postponing its return from vacation to October 7, 2025, constitutional review has emerged as the foremost issue expected to dominate its plenary session. The House of Representatives Constitution Review Committee has presented 87 proposed amendments to the 1999 Constitution, the most pressing of which involves state and community policing, local government autonomy, electoral reform, and improved representation for women and persons with disabilities.
Although these proposals remain unpassed, they are still in the stage of public hearings and legislative refinement. It's not certain when a final draft will be transmitted to state assemblies. Unconfirmed reports suggest that alongside constitutional amendments, senators will discuss the persistent attacks on civilians, approval of a supplementary budget, and the dispute between Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan and the Senate leadership. Now, join us this morning to discuss these subjects is Mr. Kenny Okolugbo, the media consultant to the Senate President. Good morning, Mr. Kenny Okolugbo, and thanks for your time.
For having me.
Now, let's start with the delay in resumption. After a 2-month recess, so many Nigerians are wondering why the change to a new date of October 7th, and does that not affect the schedule for constitutional amendment work?
No, exactly. I'm sure you heard the announcement from the clerk of the Senate. The Senate and the House of Rep decided that because of the fact that we are going to have a public holiday next week, October 1st, and a whole lot of people would also travel again after the resumption this week, it did make sense that there'll just be one resumption that'll take everybody to December. And that was one of the main reasons that the resumption date was shifted for the House of Representatives and the Senate. So it's not going to stop committee work for those who have their committee works, like he rightly said. And by the time resumption comes from the 7th of October, they will hit the ground running. Don't forget that the executives are here to submit the medium-term expenditure framework and the physical strategy paper, which is also going to take a whole lot of time. And if need be, I'm sure the both chambers could extend their sitting times to even Friday, Saturdays, which they have done before, to make up for any time that is lost.
All right, that's comforting. Then let's talk about the bills that are being proposed. Of the 87 bills being proposed for constitutional amendment, are there bills that are being prioritized by the Senate, and what are the criteria that are being used to decide urgency?
If you look at what the House of Rep did yesterday, the Senate hasn't gone into their details. By the time the Senate goes into their details, more highlights will be given by the spokesperson of the Senate, Senator Yemi Adaramodu. But if you look at what the House of Reps did yesterday, they've already dropped one. It's no more 87, it's 86. They've dropped citizenship and indigenship. If you look at it, so it's 86 that they're dealing with now. But if you look at the focus, what Nigerians are actually focused on now is the issue of state police. They are very concerned about it, because if you look at the bill that was sponsored by the Deputy Speaker, Benjamin Kalu, that is the H617B bill, it clearly says that we must remove policing from the exclusive list to the concurrent list. And by the time you take it off the exclusive list to the concurrent list, we are going to have a situation whereby the houses of assemblies will not be allowed to legislate on security matters, which was never done before. And so by the time they're allowed to legislate on security matters, what follows is that they can now establish state police, bringing policing nearer to the people, and they can have greater control. The governors can now have greater control over the security apparatus in their states. And why people are saying that this is needed is because they want to stem the issue of kidnapping, the issue of herders, farmers clashes, and a whole lot of crime that has eaten into a lot of the fabric of the society, especially in the north central, in the northwest, and also in the southeast. The south is relatively at peace now, but there's still a whole lot of kidnapping going on around there too, which might not happen as much as in the other areas. So if you look at the issue of state policing, it's been one that has been in the front burner. Even the president has also spoken in that favor. But there are also demerits which people have also, tried to point out, that this state policing might be abused by the governors to take advantage of their opponents and other things. But I think those demerits that they have brought to the fore, which is like the issue of funding, infrastructure, equipment for the police, payment of salaries and all that, these are gray areas that can still be dealt with during the public hearing so that they can cross the T's and dot the I's. And we can experiment and see what difference it will be having the state police and the federal police lording over the state police when they see that the state police cannot perform their actions.
Okay, I mean, just to follow up on that as well, I know we talked about state policing has been a conversation that has been at the front burner for a long time now, but it's become priority, especially like you mentioned, with the president speaking about it. We've seen what Mr. Kayode Egbetokun has said regarding state policing. There are also the concerns about abuse. So are we certain that when this is decided upon, there wouldn't be the concerns again about the abuse of office and the ability to manipulate, potentially manipulate the state police at will, especially by the governors?
Yes, I see that question as very vital because a lot of people have likened it to what has happened during the elections that you are having for the local governments. That is why the local government autonomy is one of the issues that have been also that has been on the front burner now for constitutional amendment, devolution of powers. Because if you look at it, the Supreme Court has given the local governments the autonomy, but are they really autonomous? That's the question you ask yourself. Their elections are still done by the state governments. They would also find themselves subservient to the governors. And we have seen that any state that carries out the local government elections, that party wins all the elections of even to the councillorship. So people have used that as an example to say that the state police, like you have said, will be also abused in that line. And that is why they are asking that local government elections should be carried out by INEC so that the local government chairmen will now see themselves no more as an appendage of the governor, but a direct commitment to the people who would have elected them from office. And so by the time they're also getting their funds from the consolidated revenue funds directly to their accounts, they will now not go cap in hand to the governor to say, what are we going to do with these funds? Because they're afraid that if they don't do that, they might not be re-elected or seek a second tenure. So that is applicable to the issue of the state police. But if we keep going on about this abuse, I think that there are checks and balances that could be put in place so that the federal police can intervene in an event where this abuse takes place. That's what I think. I think legislation will be able to help us to check this abuse, which people have, which has been a burden that has frightened everybody in terms of allowing the governors control the state security apparatus.
Now, the Senate and the National Assembly definitely does have its work cut out for him with this constitutional amendment process that we're seeing. The process still going through public hearings, legislative debates. When can you put a timeline to when we expect this exercise to be completed and when it will be transmitted to state houses of assemblies?
I believe what the House of Rep has done, the Senate is also going to have its own kickstart to the public hearing. Remember, we went through this during the tax bill, if you remember very well. And at the end of the day, the tax bill has been signed into law. People were worried they thought it was going to be delayed. There was this issue of the Governors Forum saying that they were not okay with the sharing of the VAT. We had the issue of people saying that you cannot trade with the baby on the bathwater. But at the end of the day, the tax, which is a landmark, President Tinubu must be proud of what he was able to achieve by that landmark executive bill, which was tinkered with by the National Assembly. Because without the National Assembly, they would not have been passed into law. The two chambers actually came together, the Senate and the House of Reps. They did the public hearing, and the bill has been passed into law. So if you had to ask me from what I see and from what I hear from behind the scenes, by March, we should be talking about gathering up aggregate all the opinions of the 6 geopolitical zones and the bill for second, third hearing, and once it crosses third hearing, it becomes a law, and it's passed to the states. You know, it's going to be passed to the state houses of assembly to seek their concurrence of 2/3 of the members of the State House of Assembly. And don't forget also that for the one for the police to pass, but to leave the concurrent list to the legislative, to the other list would also have to be passed by the state assemblies, 2/3 of the state assemblies. So all those processes look cumbersome, but I think by March, Easter of next year, those processes would have been concluded, and maybe before the next legislative, which will be the final legislative calendar, they'll be able to submit a clean bill to the president. Especially with the fact that the primaries are coming. If you remember, Buhari was not able to vote as vote in that primaries. No governor voted in that primaries because the legislation that was done effectively shut out all those who were elected from voting in their primaries. All those are things that are going to take charge of in terms of the electoral reform. And I think that would make it, you know, imperative that even before the political parties start their primaries, maybe sometimes in May, June, this constitutional amendment would have been achieved.
Now, just to follow up, for political educational purposes, will these legislations be debated as a package, or are we going to have a line-by-line, issue-by-issue debate when it gets to
it's constitutional amendment, it's line-by-line. It can't go as a package. It's a constitutional amendment. The committee of the whole will have to sit and consider each amendment. That's why I said it's going to be cumbersome. It will be considered line-by-line. That has always been the practice.
All right. Women's groups have long clamored for adequate representation in the political space, and this being reflected in the Constitution. If we go back to the Beijing Declaration in 1995, that sort of set a global standard for how women should get 35% affirmative action. An argument that even though in 2022 there was a court judgment in support of, many people would say it's not represented in the Constitution. Women's representation, how much of an important conversation is it in this constitutional review? And will women and persons living with disabilities not just be reflected, their representation not just be reflected in the Constitution, but also they be carried along in the process of the review?
Speaker Abbas and Senator Godswill Akpabio have been passionate about this, and they have committed to it. But if you look at it, in my own opinion, as an analyst, I'll tell you that a lot of this women bill comes from the lack of internal democracy that is practiced in most of the political parties. Because if internal democracy is entrenched in the political parties, you will see more women winning tickets and contesting for elections. But because of this issue of godfathers and people looking for those loyal to them and not those with political value, always being endorsed most times for primaries and going to the main elections to try to rig, it becomes impossible for women to have that affirmative right of 35%, which you have also said. Because before now, we had a lot more women in the Senate and a lot more women in the House of Rep. And we have seen that over the years, it has continued to dwindle. So that is why you see that they are conscious of the fact that they are open to that bill. But it depends on how the entire 360 members of the House of Rep and the 109 senators view it when it comes to the time of amendment. I think public perception has also agreed that that bill becomes quite necessary. But some will also tell you that it might promote mediocrity, because now see a lot of people hiding under that bill because they are women to try to push themselves without going to, contest for an election or test their popularity in the primaries and being able to emerge winners at the main election. So it also has its own demerits if you look at it from that perspective. But I think the demerits are minor compared to the merits in which the way the people are viewing it.
Well, I'm glad that you mentioned the demerits being minor, because if we check the voting population consists vastly of women, yet they're represented. We have 4 out of 109 lawmakers that are female. So,
well, sorry to butt in. Like you rightly said, it's mostly women. But you find out when you go for the election, women don't vote for themselves. Well, that's another thing that is worrisome, because most of us know, because by the time you go for elections, women are more of the voting population.
And that I would assume, or that I would allege.
So that's another thing the women must also have to work on to push for women to vote for themselves.
And whilst I agree with you that more women need to be in support of women, it is still part of the systemic oppression that has existed long before now in Nigeria's political space, where a number of women would already concede defeat before they even try, because they just assume that if they vote this woman, she's not even going to get into the office anyway, because she's not going to get the support that she needs. So they'd rather just throw their vote behind the man. It is still part of the oppression that we're speaking against. But I don't think that this is a conversation that we can conclude today. That would be a different conversation for another day. Your final thoughts in terms of how Nigerians can ensure that we hold lawmakers, we can hold the lawmakers to account and follow up, the expectations that Nigerians have for constitutional amendment. Yes,
the most important aspect is that they have seen a drive to ensure that for the first time we have 86. 86 is a whole lot. So holding them to account is to ensure that they attend those public hearings in their droves. When those public hearings come, they shouldn't shy away from it, because all the papers and memorandums that are going to be submitted will be looked at, will be checked painstakingly, and they will be used to aggregate the opinions of each of the 6 geopolitical zones when they're making this presentation for the final amendment. So attending the public hearing is what is most important for members of the public, so that at this time, those main areas that have been complaining in the Constitution, especially devolution of powers, making the center weaker, all these are things that they can drive towards when they make their presence felt. And then the members of the parliament will have no choice but to aggregate these opinions and take it back to the 2 chambers, the bicameral chambers, the Senate and the House of Reps.
All right, Mr. Kenny Okolibo, thank you very much for joining us. We look forward to having an interesting conversation and following up with the constitutional amendment process from the House as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
All right. And now we'll go on a break to bring you breakfast headlines. When we come back, there's still more to look at this morning on Breakfast Central. Stay with us.
Hello, welcome to Breakfast Headlines. I am Benga Aborowa. We begin the news in Nigeria, where Nigeria has renewed its call for a permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council. Speaking at the United Nations General Assembly, Vice President Kashim Shettima also said Africa deserves fairer representation. Shettima stressed that the United Nations must adapt to today's realities, adding that Nigeria is committed to multilateralism, sustainable development, and positioning itself as Africa's top investment hub. He also reaffirmed Nigeria's commitment to sustainable development goals and called for peace in the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Nigeria must have a permanent seat at the UN Security Council. This should take place. This should take place as part of a wider process of institutional reform. 2, we need urgent action to promote sovereign debt relief and access to trade and financing. 3, countries that host minerals must benefit from those minerals. And 4th, the digital divide must close. As our friend the Secretary General has said, AI must stand for Africa included. On my first point, the United Nations will recover its relevance only when it reflects the world as it is, not as it was. Nigeria's journey tells this story with clarity. When the UN was founded, we were a colony of 20 million people, absent from the tables where decisions about our fate were taken. Today, we are a sovereign nation of 236 million people, projected to be the 3rd most populous country in the world, with one of the youngest and most dynamic populations on earth, a stabilizing force in regional security, and a consistent partner in global peacemaking. Our case for permanent seat at the Security Council is a demand for fairness, for representation, and for reform that restores credibility to the very institution upon which the hope of multilateralism rests. This is why Nigeria stands firmly behind the UN-80 initiative of the UN Secretary General and the resolution adopted by this Assembly on 18 July 2025. A bold step to reform the wider United Nations system for greater relevance, efficiency, and effectiveness in the face of unprecedented financial strain. We support the drive to rationalize structures and end the duplication of responsibilities and programs, so that this institution may speak with one voice and act with greater coherence. Madam President, Africa, none of us in this world can function peacefully in isolation. This is the heavy burden of sovereignty. Sovereignty is a covenant of shared responsibility, a recognition that our survival is bound to the survival of others. To live up to this charge, we must work hand in hand with our neighbors and partners. We must follow the trails of weapons, of money, and of people. For these forces, too often driven by faceless non-state actors, ignite the fires of conflict across our region. Madam President, Nigeria's soldiers and civilians carry a proud legacy. They have participated in 51 out of 60 United Nations peacekeeping operations since our independence in 1960.
The federal government of Nigeria has announced Nigeria at 65, all hands on deck for greater nation as the official theme for the country's 2025 Independence Day celebrations. Segun Omohiosen, Director of Information and Public Relations at the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, said the theme calls for unity, collaboration and patriotism amongst all sectors to drive national peace and progress. Planned activities include a Jumu'at prayer on September the 26th, an interdenominational church service on September 28th, and a World Press Conference in Abuja on September 29th. Ahead of the coronation of the 44th Olubadan of Ibadan land, Oba Rashidi Ladoja, on Friday, the Oyo State government has expressed readiness to host the historic event. Security in the town has also been strengthened ahead of the expected arrival of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and other important dignitaries. Ladoja, who would receive both the staff of office and instrument of office on Friday, succeeds Oba Owolabi Olakunle, who joined his ancestors on Monday, July the 7th, 2025, at the age of 90. On Wednesday, the first ever Olubadan coronation lecture was held in honor of the 44th Olubadan of Ibadan land. The event drew distinguished traditional rulers, scholars, and dignitaries celebrating the monarch and enduring cultural significance of the Olubadan story. Bandits have launched fresh assaults on rural communities in Kwara State, killing a policeman and abducting several villagers in separate incidents across 3 local government areas. In Edo local government area, gunmen invaded Chakugi village in the Lafiaji Emirate during an early morning raid on Wednesday, whisking away 4 residents. The attack came less than 24 hours after bandits stormed Matokun village in Patagi local government area, where a pregnant woman was reportedly killed and at least 5 others injured. Residents said that the attackers operated for more than 5 hours, holding villagers hostage before leaving with 12 captive. 4 later escaped, while 8 remain in captivity. There's growing optimism about Nigeria's economy, with projections that the exchange rate could strengthen to between 1,300 and 1,400 naira before the end of the year. According to the chairman of BUA Group, Abdulsamad Rabiu, companies now rely less on the central bank for foreign exchange, accessing FX abroad through ATMs and credit cards, evidence of market stability. He also pointed to reductions in the cost of food items compared to last year, urging Nigerians to remain patient as reforms under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu continue to yield results.
Expect that the exchange rate is going to strengthen even further. I expect that the rate should come down to maybe 1,300 to 1,400 naira before the end of the year. CBN, is doing quite a lot, and businesses today do not actually need, foreign exchange from the Central Bank of Nigeria. The reliance or, need for foreign exchange from the central bank has virtually disappeared. If you look at the prices of food items last year and what we have today, you see that there is a significant reduction in all the, commodities, prices of food items. So I think we just need to be a bit more patient. Clearly things are getting better.
Let's also tell you that the former sole administrator of Rivers State, retired Vice Admiral Ibok Ete Ibas, on Wednesday visited the presidential villa in Abuja. Arriving shortly after, Ibas was the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edu. Chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Ola Olukoyede, was also present. We understand that the visit to the villa came amid calls for Ibas to give an account of a 6-month rule in Rivers State. The former naval chief's tenure as Rivers sole administrator ended on September the 17th, following the expiration of the 6-month emergency rule, and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu subsequently reinstated Governor Siminalayi Fubara, his deputy, and the State House of Assembly members. And that's all on Breakfast Headlines. I am Benga Aborowa. Breakfast Central continues shortly.
Welcome back to Breakfast Central. We are joined this morning by the head strategy and public affairs Nairametrics, Wade Ahimie, as we review the papers together with him and with you. So good morning, Wade. Good to have you.
Good morning, Oli. It's been quite some time. We're happy to have you back.
I'm glad to be back.
Yes,
we're happy to have you.
Quite a lot.
A lot. But before we get into that, just to mention to our audience that we also want you to be a part of this conversation. If you want to drop your thoughts and comments about any of the stories on the front pages, all you need to do is to call the numbers on your TV screen. Alternatively, you can join our live stream. We're streaming live on YouTube with the News Central official page. So just search for News Central Live and drop a comment. We'll take the comments from YouTube as well. But let's start with the papers this morning. I'll begin with the Nigerian Tribune. On the front page of the Nigerian Tribune, there's a big story there that says federal government moves to restart oil exploration in Ogoni land. Tinubu directs Ribadu on Niger Delta peace development, confers national honors on murdered Ogoni 4. And then we have hunger, reform or risk irrelevance. Tinubu tells United Nations world leaders. Gives reasons why demand for sitting UN's Permanent Security Council is timely. Positions Nigeria's mineral wealth, economic reforms as blueprint for Africa. 2 killed, 6 abducted in Kwara bandit attacks. Nigerian industrialist Ologun Oscar Ibru dies at 67. Oh, wow. 24 hours to coronation, prominent Nigerians converge on Ibadan at lecture in honor of 44th Olubadan. Emergence of Ladoja will modernize Ibadan, according to Falola. Separate tradition from politics. Obasanjo advises new Oba. Is that really possible in this day and age? Upgraded Ibadan Airport welcomes first flight as Tinubu's advanced team arrives. Osun government tells finance minister not to release local government funds to APC members' account. So I think the big story will be oil exploration in Ogoni land, and especially judging from the history of oil exploration in Ogoni land, and where we were.
At the cleanup exercise.
Exactly. Just to mention the 4 people who were murdered: Albert Bade, Edward Kobani, Theophilus Orage, and Samuel Orage, popularly remembered as the Ogoni 4. But let's get your thoughts.
So finally, they have a report on the happenings and issues that have happened in Ogoni land 30 years down the line. This is good news for those who experienced that period. I remember I was in Port Harcourt then, and I know the daughter of one of the Ogoni 4s who was lynched, more like. So like I said, this is good news. He's asked the National Security Advisor to go continue the dialogue and find out how they can work together in terms of building that lasting peace, and then provide the opportunities for the federal government to go back into Ogoniland and start to explore for oil, but taking into consideration the needs of the community and so on and so forth. He also gave posthumous honors as commander of the Order of the Niger for the Ogoni 4, which really, there's a lot of context behind this. People say it was the Kensarua and the 8 other people who were all part of, who were executed, were the ones who
attacked.
Well, who planned the attack, because they felt, and this is the story that went from then, because they felt that they were going to, They were going to dissociate themselves from a number of things that was going on. But it's quite sad when you look at the history of Kensarua and Kobani, who had worked together for a very long time. So now saying that, and they had been friends for long. Now coming back to that context of saying he planned an attack for them to be murdered, then really nobody has actually gone to investigate that story in totality.
But beyond that, let's talk about the move to restart the oil exploration
exactly.
Because the cleanup that late President Buhari started, it said that it would last for about 30 years to really clean up that place. And you would think for the ecological damage that has happened in that region, they would want to slow down the process of restarting oil exploration. We do understand that there is abundant gift of nature underneath the soil, and they need to exploit it for economic interest. But which one comes first, the environmental or financial benefits? And do these benefits actually do a lot for the livelihood of those in that community where the wealth is extracted from? So what's your take on it?
Okay, so they can go hand in hand. That's the very first thing, the economic benefits and the environmental issues. Part of the things that the president said and noted here was that they must find the best way, and he has asked the Minister for Environment to look at the possibilities of how they must work in
Tribune. On the front page of the Nigerian Tribune, there's a big story there that says federal government moves to restart oil exploration in Ogoniland. Tinubu directs Ribadu on Niger Delta peace development, confers national honors on murdered Ogoni 4. And then we have hunger, reform or risk irrelevance. Tinubu tells United Nations world leaders. Gives reasons why demand for sitting UN's Permanent Security Council is timely, positions Nigeria's mineral wealth, economic reforms as blueprint for Africa. 2 killed, 6 abducted in Kwara bandit attacks. Nigerian industrialist Ologun Oscar Ibru dies at 67. Oh, wow. 24 hours to coronation, prominent Nigerians converge on Ibadan at lecture in honor of 44th Olubadan. Emergence of Ladoja will modernize Ibadan, according to Falola. Separate tradition from politics. Obasanjo advises new Oba. Is that really possible in this day and age? Upgraded Ibadan Airport welcomes first flight as Tinubu's advanced team arrives. Osun government tells finance minister not to release local government funds to APC members' account. So I think the big story will be oil exploration in Ogoniland, and especially judging from the history of oil exploration in Ogoniland and where we were.
The cleanup exercise.
Exactly. Just to mention the 4 people who were murdered, Albert Bade, Edward Kobani, Theophilus Orage, and Samuel Orage, popularly remembered as the Ogoni 4. But let's get your thoughts.
So finally, they have a report on the happenings and issues that have happened in Ogoniland 30 years down the line. This is good news for those who experienced that period. I remember I was in Port Harcourt then, and I know the daughter of one of the Ogoni 4s who was lynched, more like. So like I said, this is good news. He's asked the National Security Advisor to go continue the dialogue and find out how they can work together in terms of building that lasting peace, and then provide the opportunities for the federal government to go back into Ogoniland and start to explore for oil, but taking into consideration the needs of the community and so on and so forth. He also gave posthumous honors as commander of the Order of the Niger for the Ogoni 4, which really, there's a lot of context behind this. People say it was the Kensarua and the 8 other people who were all part of, who were executed, were the ones who
attacked.
Well, who planned the attack, because they felt, and this is the story that went around then, because they felt that they were going to, They were going to dissociate themselves from a number of things that was going on. But it's quite sad when you look at the history of Kensarua and Kobani, who had worked together for a very long time. So now saying that, and they had been friends for long. Now coming back to that context of saying he planned an attack for them to be murdered, then really nobody has actually gone to investigate that story in totality.
And beyond that, let's talk about the move to restart the oil exploration
exactly.
Because the cleanup that late President Buhari started, it said that it would last for about 30 years to really clean up that place. And you would think for the ecological damage that has happened in that region, they would want to slow down the process of restarting oil exploration. We do understand that there is abundant gift of nature underneath the soil, and they need to exploit it for economic interest. But which one comes first, the environmental or financial benefits? And do these benefits actually do a lot for the livelihood of those in that community where the wealth is extracted from? So what's your take on it?
Okay, so they can go hand in hand. That's the very first thing, the economic benefits and the environmental issues. Part of the things that the president said and noted here was that they must find the best way, and he has asked the Minister for Environment to look at the possibilities of how they must work in that area without, causing any more damage. And there are new environmental technologies that you can use in advance to help move that. But it doesn't stop the fact that you have to do a cleanup, because if you have to spend money to clean the environment and you are not generating money, so where will the government actually get that money? So they must go hand in hand. Yes, it might take 30 years, and it's a gradual process because that land had been polluted for a very, very long time, and the level of pollution is so high. And I know that Shell has also committed to the fact that they would ensure that cleanup is done, and I know that they had started when the former vice president had gone there to launch the cleanup program. Yeah, so they must go hand in hand, because if you are not generating economic benefits from the natural resource that you have there, then how do the people now survive? Because it would create employment opportunities for them, because most of their other sources of living, of survival, have been damaged. So that must create economic benefit for the people in Ogoniland through, one, giving them jobs, whether it's the the government in terms of the drilling and the production of oil from there. Two, it will also create economic value, because those who come there to the community, then they start to find some kind of business that they can run. But you cannot say, oh, you will wait for 30 years to clean up the space. Everybody might be there.
If you clean it up, they can get back to fishing and agriculture and things like that.
It's a gradual process. So as you're cleaning it up, how do they survive? Okay. That's the question you need to ask yourself. So I think they can go hand in hand, as long as they make sure that the environmental aspect of it is clearly defined and how you want to manage that process without creating more pollution in the area.
Now, quickly, just before we move away from the Tribune, because the United Nations General Assembly is currently ongoing, and News Central does have a team in New York as we speak, and quite a lot of things have been happening since the General Assembly sessions opened. President Trump has been lambasting the United Nations, and yesterday, Nigeria's Vice President Kashim Shettima did speak on behalf of President Tinubu, and he says, reform the United Nations will risk irrelevance, Tinubu tells United Nations and world leaders. He also spoke about the need for Nigeria and Africa. He said Africa needs a permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council, and Nigeria deserves to take that permanent seat. Fela, the great Fela Anikulapo Kuti, used to sing in Beast of No Nation that what is united in the United Nations, that he talked about the number of votes and veto power, that it's very undemocratic. I mean, the ironic is called United Nations, but it's quite undemocratic. You have veto powers. So in one hand, you have Nigeria arguing to join a group of undemocratic people with veto powers, and then you have the majority of the United Nations. The Finnish president spoke yesterday, president of Finland, and he said the best reform for the United Nations is to abolish the veto, because we've seen very obvious things. Okay, let's have a vote for security, for a ceasefire in Gaza, where United Nations has said a genocide is going on. Very obvious thing, you think, to, yes, and then Israel and the United States veto it. Let's have a vote on making food a universal right. Israel and the United States veto it. So what should we be fighting for a place in an undemocratic club? Or do you toe the line of the Finnish president that says, you know what, just abolish the veto power, let everybody vote democratically? The Committee of Nations, yes.
Yeah, the League of Nations, that's how it started, before it became the United Nations after the World War. So a few countries put themselves together and said XYZ, and is turned into a general congregation of all the countries in the world. Now, my take is this. If we're talking about democratic principles and all, then that veto should go. Then it should be that all nations have a right to vote towards what they think and believe should be the progress of the world as a whole. I don't know how many countries now, but at the point in time it was only 5. USA, Russia, UK.
Yeah, those are the 5 permanent members.
Yeah, and China, I think. Yeah. China recently got in there. So, and they drive the world economy and the way the direction in which they think the world should be. And I do agree that based on all the things that have happened across the world in the last 5 years, starting from COVID, there is a need to restructure this congregation. Why? Because you have countries who have the capacity and capabilities to quickly do things within their specs. But of course, you now have to wait for members of the so-called, the 5 veto powers, and those ones who say, oh, no. So for instance, during COVID, we know the president of the United States then, who was truly against it. No vaccines, no this, but he did get all the vaccines, so that, and he did have COVID, and he treated him. And these are the things that we're talking about. So how do you ensure that the world as a whole, yes, you want to be the world leaders and direct it, but you can't shut down everything that one person says, oh, this might be better done from this part of the world. And well, but like you all know, it's about control. And when you control the economic power and the political power across the world, then you are a great nation, like they say. And so being a member of the Security Council and the president pushing for an African seat, I don't think it's just an African seat. If
he's pushing for a Nigerian seat.
Well, he's pushing for a Nigerian seat.
Do we deserve it? If it's even granted, that's the question. That's a question on the question.
That we deserve a seat?
Yes, a permanent seat at the United Nations. If they give Africa, if there's a slot open to Africa who gets it?
Does Nigeria deserve it? Now,
population-wise?
Population-wise, yes.
Otherwise?
Standard. Otherwise, there might be other countries from an economic perspective in terms of growth, in terms of development, in terms of and in terms of how the political environment is,
across. They should put it to a vote at the African Union.
What I think should be is, if there is a space for an African country to be on that seat, then there should be a vote. Like you said, there should be a vote in the African Union. And if Nigeria does deserve it, I'm sure, and they put out the best candidates,
Benin Republic to push yours. Otherwise,
we stamp on them. Anyway, but and that's where the politics comes in. So East Africa, North Africa. I remember when I think it was Boutros Ghali when he became
Egyptian Secretary General.
Obasanjo also, former President Obasanjo also wanted to become the Secretary General. But yes, it was a spot for an African country, and most of the countries rallied around Boutros Ghali. So that's how it should be.
Okay, let's look at another paper and see what the front page of this one says.
I love this.
I want to take I'm hoping
Daily
that I
Trust.
can. All right, go ahead with the Daily Trust then.
The Daily Trust, the screaming headline there says federal government goes after certificate forgers. In the news in the last few days, they're talking about examination malpractice and the corruption in the education sector, and people that think they can cheat their way through life. When you get that job and they verify and they see that your certificate is fake, you will be kicked out. The federal government has moved against certificate forgers with the directive to all ministries, departments, agencies, military and paramilitary formations to enforce mandatory verification of all academic credentials of staff members, all staff members, beginning from 6th of October 2025. The directive follows mounting concerns from academics about the erosion of educational integrity and spread of fake certificates across the country. In response, the government ordered the implementation of the National Policy for the Education Repository and Data Bank, NERD. The policy requires every ministry, department, agency and institution, whether public, private, civilian or military, to subject staff and prospective employees to strict verification checks. Now, is this coming a bit too late? Shouldn't this happen before you even issue an employment letter to someone? Because in the private sector, that's what they do.
Yeah, you're supposed to. So it's not only in the private sector, even in the public sector. Before you join,
to check whether your certificate is soluble.
Yeah, you would submit all your credentials, and it's to check. Now, then when we had the manual system, of course, people bring in certificates. But one of the biggest challenges for me is the system itself not going ahead to check those things. So there are a number of things you need to check. So one, you check with WAEC, and WAEC has a repository of that information.
When you say check, how do you check? Because you bring, at New Central, for example, they ask you to bring photocopies of your certificate.
You actually send someone with a letter to the verifying organization.
So it's not by just physically looking at, okay.
No. What is done? So the first thing is this, and in the process, the process is this. So if I get employment, I bring my document.
Yes.
So they say, oh, bring your photocopy and bring your originals. So what you would see in the documents that you have in my file in any organization is originals cited by XYZ. So my WAEC certificates, my degree, my professional certificate, and then it is the responsibility of the organization to go ahead and confirm those things with those respective organizations.
So it goes beyond just
saying it. And what you usually do, and even private organizations do it, what you usually do is that you send a letter and then put a copy of all those certificates to those particular organizations, and they do respond.
But it does cost some money.
I really don't understand. It's part of the verification process
of
employment.
It's just like when I'm hiring a driver.
And it's beautiful now that you have, most of that data is in, is on the computer. It's online. So I send a message to WAEC, all WAEC needs, and they have a contact spot where you send all those things, and they do verify all these things. So it's not rocket science, and it's not just in Nigeria, it's all over the world. Because for those who travel to go to school abroad, there is a process for you. There are organizations that you send your documentations to. They would independently go and verify them and then they would come back to you and tell you, you qualify for XYZ. So what
There's
is
a popular
about
Nigerian pastor that is fond of asking his members of the congregation, are you a graduate? So you should also tap into the verification spirit. We have a call, Uche from Abia.
Yeah, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Yeah, my sister and my brother, this issue of certificate forgery, are they going to go forensic? Are they going to come, start from presidency to National Assembly? Hello?
Yeah, we're with you. I mean, the information we have is all ministries, agencies, military and paramilitary services, institutions.
If they are going to go forensic. It's a pity the way Nigeria is being turned to.
Your audio is really low.
The issue of, presidency summoning, is it Abbas or whatever you call him, the man that left River State. For me, that is not going to strengthen our institution. Let him, Mr. President, allow the State Assembly to probe the man. The man used the state money, River State money, not national presidency money. Let the River State Assembly probe him so that we will know. And then our institution will be strengthened. God bless you people.
God bless
Thank
you
very much,
Uche
from Abia.
Like he said, is everybody, even politicians that submit their credentials to INEC, they should be verified independently.
INEC should verify.
Oh, yes. They should. They should. Because like the NYC issue, let me give an example, and the minister that lost her job. Yeah. If not someone had said that she provided, when she didn't even need to provide an NYC certificate, because first and foremost, she did school in Nigeria. By the time she was done, she could have gone back and written to them that, oh, this is what happened, but I'm coming back to Nigeria. And then they will give you a clearance. And there's a way you go about it, so you submitted a number of things. So obviously, the beauty about Nigeria is that there's so many procedures and policies and processes, but do we just ensure that we do them? Many times we don't.
What's the danger of employing people that have forged certificates? Because some would argue that, they're doing their jobs effectively. So
it's a crime now.
So first and foremost, forging a certificate, forgery is a crime.
No, I'm asking this question. We're trying to educate people here.
Don't ask. It's good at educating people. If ask the police, forgery is a crime. Is impersonation. So let's understand this. So if someone submits forged documents, number of National Assembly people, the first Speaker of the House, forged documents, and he was kicked out. So if it was done
in
the
went to University of Toronto,
and the University of Toronto said they had nobody like that, that's confirmation. And you see, the beauty of it is that if when he ran for that position and he submitted all those documents, INEC had gone back to do a check, it would have been flagged, and maybe the man would have now provided the certificate of where he went to. Because at the end of the day, it showed that he went to a higher institution. But it just wasn't the University of Toronto. And these are things that we need to check. If you want the system to get better, then you must stop people, because forgery first and foremost is a crime. In any way you look at it, whether it's certificates or documents that you use to obtain. So 419 is what? False
obtaining something under false pretenses.
And that's what it is. Forgery is obtaining something under false documentation.
You must do the time.
There must be penalties.
And there are penalties in the criminal code. I don't know what why do you 419? Section 419 is the criminal for what's it called, obtaining by false pretense.
Yeah.
Because forgery is obtaining by false pretense.
Okay,
documentation.
Interesting take there. Olive, he said University of Toronto, a higher institution, but the man went to another university. That was not University of Toronto. That's a lower institution.
Wow.
Let's move on to other.
I don't know whether it's higher. The man went to a higher institution.
So I believe a court has set a date for hearing on the Osun State government suit on local government.
See the bottom of the paper.
Yes,
It's saying,
and this is...
don't release local government funds to sack APC chairman. Osho is saying,
so he's saying
federal government.
Release local government funds. At the same time, the governor is saying, don't release it to
the sacked one.
APC chairman. So where are we on this matter?
So
let's get the details of it.
So we know that Osun State conducted local government elections that brought in new local government leadership. That we know. Now, the former local government leadership are saying, no, we are still in leadership. And that's where the dispute is. And they've gone to the High Court, they've gone to the Appeal Court, now they're in the Supreme Court. And Osun State government has won both cases. Are you with me? Now, if that is it, at no point in time, like they say, if the case is still in court, then I don't see the reason why the federal government should release funds to the local government. That's my opinion. So until the Supreme Court comes up with its verdict and says, oh, no, that election was not right, those new leaders, officers that were elected into leadership had no right to be there, then you will retain status quo.
But does the government have the right to even seize the local government funds in the first place?
If there's a dispute, yes, they have. I believe they should do that because you don't want to.
So what happens to the people?
So what happens? It's just a short period of time because I remember when the current president was governor of Lagos State. He has funds from the federal coffers that was sit for almost 2 years, and they were in the Supreme Court. And immediately, or not long after the Lagos State won their case, the monies were released to them. Yes, I will be local. So what the state government should do and the local government should do is continue to look for how they can create their own internally generated funds and do the things that they need to do. And how did Lagos State survive for 2 years?
Okay.
Internally generated funds.
Let's head to the Federal Capital Territory. We have Femi calling from there. Good morning. Thank you for calling.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Please go ahead.
This is Kevin calling from Abuja. Good morning, Breakfast Central.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, so our guest, good morning to you. I just have a few questions to ask you. Just a few questions to ask you. When you make reference of forging a certificate is a crime, and I agree with you. But may I ask, what is behind forging a certificate? Who should be blamed, father? Okay?
Now, we're struggling to hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, if you can speak up, but yes, we can hear you now.
Yes. So, like I mentioned earlier, I asked, what is the reason or motive behind a student forging a certificate? What should be what could lead to that? Because if a student should forge a certificate, that means the school must have failed the student. Now, you said it should be a crime. Should it be a crime too for our educational system to fail a student? Because that's the only way for a student to be accepted or somebody to be accepted. He or she would rather want to say, look, my school has failed me, but I need this job. Now, who is to be blamed and who is to be arrested or jailed? This is a crime.
But Femi, you understand that, exams are conducted to test the knowledge of students. And if that student doesn't pass, you can't just pass him for the sake of passing. He needs to excel in his academics to get a pass grade. So there are different reasons for failure. It doesn't excuse certificate forgery, if you get my drift.
I don't think... Yes, exams are conducted to test what has been taught in any institution. But because you fail an exam doesn't mean that your life has failed. And this ideology in Nigeria today, where everybody believes that once I get a certification of this, or I have a master's in this, or I have a doctorate in this, or I am a professor in this, then everybody looks up to me as the standard. I don't believe that, and I always tell people that. And you must believe in yourself. So first and foremost, your basic education, get your WAEC, and if you can't get a higher institution degree, then go ahead and get one. But that doesn't mean that that's the end of your life.
Very true.
Some of the biggest and the greatest billionaires in this country didn't go to school.
Anthony Anahoro.
So let me just piggyback to Femi Otedola now. His book is written clearly there. He has his WAEC. He didn't go to university.
Ah, that's new information.
Oh, you go read the book. This is what I have known for a very long time.
Olive, please buy me the book.
Okay, that's not a problem.
Even before you wrote the book, I knew that. Do you understand? So, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, you want me to continue, the Kellogg's, what's it called? They are all...
Yeah, but this is one, I mean, a few out of the majority. So, young children,
okay, so let me go to school. I didn't tell you not to go to school. Don't get me wrong. Nobody should make the mistake. What did I say? Well, I started with basic education, because basic education makes you literate. That's primary, secondary school. Going to university is not compulsory in my own opinion. I didn't go to India. I went to Yabatech. I have an HND in accounting.
It's as good as a university.
Well, people will tell me if I submit my certificate to get a job with you that went to university, you would say, I'm a chartered accountant. I qualified as a chartered accountant. It's almost 30 years now. But the fact remains that I don't have a master's in anything, neither do I have a doctorate. But you can self-study, but go to school to get that basics. Self-study, learn, and go on. But this new drive for, you go on LinkedIn.
I'm happy to announce.
Yes.
All right. I'm happy to announce now that I have a call
certification.
from Osun State. Abiola is calling. Good morning, Abiola. Please go ahead. You are our final caller today.
Good morning.
Good morning. Okay, maybe we can take one more. Go ahead, please, Abiola. We can hear you.
Good morning. Please, I want to make a comment about the issue of the River State administrator, the former administrator. You see, the invitation of the presidency of the administrator is just a cajole. The money that was spent belongs to the River State. There, the River State Assembly invited the man, questioning him and how he spent their money. That's just my contribution. Good morning and have a nice day.
Thank you very much, Abiola, for that contribution. He's speaking regarding River State.
I thought you speak on Osun State.
And I do think that they should go over the books of River State and see. And if the sole administrator believes in transparency, then I'm sure he would have submitted all the handover and the documents to them. So it's left to the River State.
This man was enjoying his retirement, having served the nation as its naval chief, and also in the capacity of the Nigerian ambassador to Ghana. You guys called him out of his retirement, come and sole administrate. And while he was sole administrating, there was a committee in the National Assembly that was oversight function.
Yeah.
So why are you disturbing him again?
And that's the reality, because everything that he did with the funds that were brought, the committee approved most, if not all of the things that were brought forward. So
Olive always says, like in law, please, can you give us a Latin maxim to that he who has nothing to fear, something like that.
He who comes to equity must come with clean hands.
Yes.
So if he has clean hands,
he has
gone to submit his report to the
president. We're seeing here
now,
at least on the front page of the Punch newspaper, Ibas meets Tinubu, EFCC chair in Aso Rock. So we would continue to wait for the feedback on that. But now let's quickly touch on the Punch as we have less than 3 minutes. Motorists stranded as flood overruns Lagos communities. We hope that, did the flood affect you?
Nah. It doesn't look like it's been affected.
It doesn't look like it's been affected.
Yes, it did. Because I was on a Zoom out by the way that day, and it was flooded. Then Lekki too was flooded because I had tried to get into Lekki.
How's your car doing?
My car is sound.
Great. We just can't do advertising here. So
no, I don't want to do advertising.
That right now they are going to
because I came this morning and there was a particular car that I didn't see, but I won't call the name.
Yeah, because maybe the rain has gotten into it. But
he had a good wash.
Really sad. Olubadan, Oyo gears up for his historic coronation. NNPCL secures 318 billion naira to fund new oil exploration. FARC subcommittee probes spending for frontier exploration. Budget office warns Nigeria losing 60% of oil income. National oil firm pays 0 dividend to federation account. Despite 1.06 trillion naira profits, experts push private exploration. We don't have enough time to talk about this. Maybe there'll be another conversation, but as quickly as you can, maybe your thoughts on the flood situation, because I think it's important that we highlight it. It's caused a lot of issues for many Lagosians.
And yes, it will continue to cause a lot of issues for many Lagosians because there is no synergy between whether it's the Ministry of Works and the Ministry of Environment and so on. So a lot of the drainages, people are doing construction. You see people doing construction, they pour the sand and the gravel on top of the road that is on top of the gutter. You know, that's one. People have built over where natural, in terms of the Lagos State design system, should be pathways that lead, so canals that lead into the areas to the lagoon towards taking the water away and help the recycling of the water. You find people have built houses on top of them. People have sandfilled some of them. And this is the fault of the Lagos State government, and I would say that in my own opinion. Why? Because all these areas that have been approved for development, before anything is done, then you must create that network of drainage, of roads, and all, so that people who build must, and then they must meet the standard of what the drainage system must be that goes into the main drains for the Ministry of Environment. I'll just leave it at that.
All right. And that's how we conclude today's conversation. Thank you so much, Wade, for joining us. To our virtual guests, our physical guests, our online audience, I can see the conversations online, the arguments regarding APGA and what's happening in Anambra State regarding APGA and APC. Mokoye Chukwuemeka, and I can see the back and forth. Uzo Chukwu Ume, who said they obviously have nothing to campaign against Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo. Wow, this is commendable. Well done, Governor Soludo. I'm not from Anambra, but I've been there twice, once last year and recently this year. There's a lot of development. I saw the last time I was there.
That's what you call I saw it with my
two eyes. And Uzo Chukwume says, may Anambra continue to succeed. Thank you so much, Sheyi Lola, for your comment. Akini, in response to our wake-up conversation, said every petrol station must be compelled to have a public toilet. Same with all plazas. And I agree with you.
I totally agree
with you. And yes, because we're talking about open defecation and saying that.
So why petrol stations?
Because petrol stations are like the easiest thing to have access to public service facilities.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay.
But these are all the comments that we can take. We'll continue again tomorrow. Thank you for your time with us. We'll see you tomorrow. I am Olive Emodi.
And I'm Bengabro. I wish we had time for Olive to send us out with a Latin maxim. Latina.
Au revoir. I can do that actually.